Headphones don't work if you don't plug them in.
Do what?
Headphones don't work if you don't plug them in. I didn't plug my headphones in.
Cracker! Oh, we are so back, baby. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Hello, America. What up, South Carolina? Howdy, world. Great to be back with you again after a nice little multi-day vacation down in the Big Easy. The boys are back in town. Oh, man.
So are you doing
Thin Lizzy?
Thin Lizzy,
Thin Lizzy.
or the boys are back in town for 48 hours?
No, the Thin Lizzy version is just where it's at. All-time banger. I found a guy on Instagram that plays classic rock songs, Lonzo, but he plays them on a lute, like like a medieval tavern.
Oh no, I know what a lute is. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's incredible. That song goes harder on a lute than it does on electric guitars. It's pretty spectacular.
So Thin Lizzy, the Bard version.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, and it's spectacular. I'm glad to be back. I am. I got to tell you, it got to be Monday around noon, and I was watching the world of sports continue spinning without me, which was almost offensive. Y'all just kept doing stuff. Y'all just kept having football free agency moves and having a bracket come out, which I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. Lonzo and I are going to be calling on the Armada today. Lonzo and I are going to be calling on you today. Lonzo and I are going to be asking for your assistance today. And the reason why is our final two play-in games take place this evening. A pair of 16s and a pair of 11s will be competing, trying to enter their name officially and finally into the NCAA tournament bracket. Over the weekend, I was checking in on the station because I'm a masochist. I like to say I'm a good employee, but I'm a masochist. I can't, even on vacation, I'm checking in.
Nope.
Even on vacation, I'm tuning in. We were driving back yesterday, 10 hours in the car. We were going to fly initially down to the Big Easy. We were going to fly down there, but we waited too long to buy tickets, and it got to the point that the decision was, do we spend $1,200 on tickets to fly and basically save ourselves 4 hours? Because the only one of the flights to get down to New Orleans, explain this to me, world, one of the flights to get to NOLA that we would have had to pay over $1,200 for two of us to fly was going to have us go to and through Detroit, Michigan. That was a layover spot.
You could
2.5 hours in Detroit.
You could have visited.
Yeah,
with
someone.
someone.
Not even long enough to like go troll an old bud, you know? Not even long enough to go mess with an old buddy. Nope, it was fly from here to Charlotte to Detroit for like a 1.5 hour layover in Detroit, then fly from Detroit to New Orleans. And by the way, that was all going to be like 7 hours.
Okay, this doesn't make. You got to fly all the way up there to come all the way back down here.
That was one of the options.
What, are there
two
volcanoes
options,
in the way or something?
Don't know. There were two options, both of which were going to cost me and the wife $1,200 to fly round trip to New Orleans and back. One of them involved a stop on the way there in Detroit, and I think on the way back it was like New Orleans to Dallas, which is like a 35-minute flight. New Orleans to Dallas, Dallas to like New York, New York to Charlotte, Charlotte to Greenville, right? And so by the time we did all that, it was like, all right, we can spend each direction 7 hours in airports and on airplanes, or we can just drive it in 9.5 and save ourselves $1,000. So we did that. So we're on the drive back yesterday. We left New Orleans at like 6:30 yesterday morning to try to give ourselves some time in the afternoon to get back, get settled in. Gonna give me time to sit down, watch some play-in tournament games, watch a little TGL, watch a little NBA, a little NHL, kind of get back in the groove as a sports bro for a minute. And, you know, at one point I tuned in. I was listening to Cole and Diesel in the afternoons, and I heard them talking a bunch of, as everyone with a microphone is right now, a bunch of bracketology. Talking about brackets, baby, because it's that time of year. We got 2 play-in games last night. We got 2 play-in games tonight. And tomorrow, late morning, it's on with the capital O. Bracket time. And so I heard them talking about their brackets and their national champions and who they like and who they don't and where the upsets might be. Clemson catching a matchup I absolutely hate for them against former Clemson Tiger Will Wade and McNeese. We're going to talk about that game coming up because I'm going to tell you right now, Clemson's in a bad spot in round 1. We're coming to that here in a little while. But I heard them talking brackets. And I heard them talking about how they have the most educated sports fans in America. And I have decided we're going to prove them wrong. So I've been asked a bunch of times over the past 24, 48, 36, 72 hours, Rob Brown, are we doing a Rob Brown Show bracket contest this year? And the answer is both yes and no. I'm going to tell you what we're doing. We're taking over theirs. I'm telling you what we're going to do. We're going to take over the wire-to-wire bracket contest. Here's what I want to happen. What I want to happen is y'all, the Armada, y'all are going to go enter their bracket contest. And we are going to watch as Rob Brown Show listeners dominate the wire-to-wire bracket group this year. That's what we're going to do. And I'll go ahead and tell you, just like we did last year, although our winner last year never actually stepped up and claimed their segment. Here's what I'm going to tell you. What I'm going to tell you is this. If any of y'all show up in the wire-to-wire bracketology contest, I'm going to be in it. We're going to put Zoe's bracket in it. We're going to put all of y'all in it. If any of y'all step up and go win their bracket contest, and in your bracket name, you put TRBS, The Rob Brown Show. Any of y'all win that contest and put TRBS in the bracket name, you'll get your segment on the show just like we've done every year since I've been here. Just like we've done every year. However, you will get the bonus prize. The bonus prize being that for 360 some odd days, you will be able to routinely call into Wire to Wire and announce yourself as Tiger Bob or Gamecock Jim or whatever you want to call yourself, the Rob Brown Show winner of the Wire to Wire bracket competition. I'm going to tell you coming up here in just a little while how you're going to get entered into their bracket contest. But I decided after listening to the boys that we're going to have a little friendly rivalry, a little show v. show showdown, a little Mexican standoff between a couple of shows that are just out here trying to make each other better by trying to be better than each other. This is our time. This is our chance. This is our opportunity to show that the Armada knows ball, baby. So stay tuned, because a little bit later, not much, a little bit later, I'm going to tell you how we are all going to go enter the wire-to-wire bracket competition. We are all going to go put our bracket name, end it with TRBS, so they know exactly who the hell we are, and we are going to prove that the Armada knows ball by just stacking bracket on bracket on bracket on bracket on bracket of TRBS listeners at the top of the Wire to Wire group. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to enter that coming up a little bit later on in the AM portion of the show. Stick around. My man Zach in the chat saying, say less. Zach's already in. Zach knows what's up. I'm going to give you guys a little bit later in the show exactly how we're going to do this.
Okay, so that wasn't a thing where he's telling you, hey, stop talking?
No, he's saying, say less, I'm in.
Okay, all right.
Say less is how the Utes say, I'm in.
Okay,
Let's go.
I'm learning. I'm not going to pick it up, but
Yeah.
at least I'd be able to understand it.
That's how the youngsters say LFG. Let's bleep and go.
So if I were in the boss's office and I said, say less,
That means you're doing that thing.
It wouldn't get me in trouble because
Correct.
I think it would.
I mean,
really.
it would in that I'm going to say lovingly and respectfully. He might go, I'm not going to say less. I'm telling you exactly what I need you to do. But say less is how you look somebody in the face and you go, I got you, dog.
See, to me, it's saying shut up.
Nope.
To say less means, hey, man, shut up.
That what it means is you've said all these things and I was already in. Say less. You don't need to say that much. Say less. You don't need to keep giving me reasons. I'm already in. Say less.
Well, the guys who decide what's the new sayings for the next generation, they got one by everybody with that one.
Slang.
It's Joe Gibbs. That's Joe Gibbs. That's where it comes from. All
that.
cool things come from Joe Gibbs.
Slang.
So stay tuned for that. Because I don't want anything more in the world. Nothing would be better than go on a nice, long, extended vacation, go down to the old hometown of New Orleans, spend 6 days with the wife, with the little brother, with the sister-in-law, with the nephew, with the grandmas, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, then to come back here to Greenville, South Carolina, to log in, say, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, as this tournament goes on and watch as the brackets stack it at the top of the Wire to Wire competition with just TRBS taking over the Tolos. The Armada knows ball. And we're about to show it to the people. We're about to show it to the people. Listen, here's what I want. I want by the end of next week, as we're getting into our Sweet 16, our Elite 8, our Final Four, our national championship game, I'd like to get an email. I'd like to get a text, a phone call from the boss that goes, hey, why don't you come on down to the office? I don't ever want the, why don't you see me in my office text. Nobody wants the, come see me in my office text, but I do. I want the come see me in my office text, and I want to walk down there, and I want to have the boss go, yo, quick question, explain to me why the boys in the afternoon set up a bracket contest, and all I see is that the top 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 80 spots are just people going, Rob Brown show, Rob Brown show, Rob Brown show, because I want to look them in the face and go, I just needed to prove to the world that the Armada knows ball. That's it. It's a little friendly rivalry, a little competition between the Armada and the Tolos. And for those of you that are both, because I know there's a lot of you that love both shows. And I love that you love both shows. I love it because that's family to me. That's family. When you are here in the mornings for the Rob Brown Show, and you're here in the afternoons for Wire to Wire, when you're here for Rob and the Great One Lonzo, when you're here in the afternoons for Cole Bryant and Kerosene, when you're here for everybody, that means you're family. And I love family. Family's the most important thing. I love to hear it. That means you can stick whatever name you want onto that bracket. That means you can represent whoever you want. But if you're an Armada member, represent. If you're exclusively a Tolo, just know that the boys in the AM are standing on business, 10 toes in the ground. And like Matthew McConaughey in that one movie that I forgot which one it was that he does this. We're saying it with our chest, baby. We know ball. And we're about to show the world because the Rob Brown Show, Rob, the Great One Lonzo, and the millions and millions in the Armada are about to take over the wire-to-wire bracket competition. That's what we're doing. That's what's happening now. Y'all know ball, and we're about to prove it to the world. 4 hours of the most electrifying sports talk entertainment on planet Earth starts now. I'm Rob Brown. How you doing, Lonzo? I didn't even say good morning because I'm a jackass. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, you're pumped and ready to go. We're midweek form because it's
Who's your daddy?
exactly. It's Wednesday. I have to keep reminding myself. It's Wednesday. It's not Monday. It's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday.
We got Monday juice up in here. All right. Zoe and I, we've been off a couple of days.
I'm so glad to be back so I can get some rest.
Zoe's been laying flooring down.
Well, spring projects. I do it every single year. This one is a little more difficult.
Lonzo's been off doing.
Laying wood. That's what I've been doing. Been off laying wood.
Let me make a little note to myself. No reason, just write down. It's 6:16 in the morning. No reason to write down that specific time stamp.
I don't get what I mean. It's a lot of wood being laid.
AM.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
man. Listen, there's nothing in the world like laying wood. Nothing in the world. All right.
unless you're laying wood by yourself.
Hey, man. You know what? Sometimes you gotta lay your own wood. You know, nobody knows how to lay your own wood better than you do. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, 6:16 a.m. written down now.
New floors look good, by the way.
I'm sure that they do.
The parts that I got done. So I'm waiting on a really big beanbag chair. I don't care. Judge me. Okay.
You didn't finish laying your wood down?
I didn't.
You got
listen,
more wood to lay down.
Sometimes you got to pace yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to lay your wood down too quickly.
Yeah. So,
You gotta
yeah.
find your pace of laying your own wood down. And once you found your pace, that's when you know that wood is laid down the best it can be laid. And that's what we're all going for. The best it can be laid.
Well,
that's what
I
we're
was
trying
going
to
to
do.
point out that I did it in one place and now I got to do it in two other places. But I don't want to get in trouble.
Sometimes
So I'm not going to do that.
The ability to be versatile in the way that you lay wood is good for everybody. Everybody loves when there's some versatility in laying wood. That's, you got to be a little over here, little over there. Sometimes you got to lay the wood a little faster, sometimes a little slower. You just got to make sure the wood is laid down properly. And if you get it done, and you get it done right, everybody appreciates it. Really thought we were going to go with a Beavis and Butthead clip there.
It's Riz, baby. We got Riz.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think that's fitting. What we were talking about. Yeah, I don't. You have to explain that to me off the air.
Dewey texts the show. Good morning, Dewey. Mwah. Good to see you, buddy. And said Wire to Wire is going to win, and then you'll be fired. I guess we'll find out. This isn't a career versus career match.
I don't know. Dewey doesn't like you for some reason.
Shocking. Yeah. This isn't career versus career. It's not hair versus hair. You know what this is? It's not even title versus title. This is straight up simply a match for pride, where at the end, we're both going to reach across the squared circle. We're going to shake hands. The victor will have his hand raised high in the air. And for 360 days.
Wait a minute, you're not raising Cole's hand because you.
I'll raise his hand. I just won't have to reach up very high to do it.
Yeah, it's
A little friendly smack.
His raised hand might reach the top of your shoulder.
A little friendly competition for pride and nothing more. The Tolos versus the Armada. Let's get it on. I'll tell you how you can enter their bracket contest. It's their bracket contest, except for it's ours, because the Armada knows ball. And we will prove it over the next 3 hours and 41 minutes as we roll on. Rob Brown, the Great Alonzo, and you. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Run out the gate. All right, guys, quick live read right out of the gate. Coming right back. Please don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to fill out the brackets. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to go on the record. But I want to say one thing real quick. This has been a debate for a very long time. And it is a debate that I would like to weigh in on immediately. Fill out one bracket, okay? Fill out one bracket. I got a problem with people who fill out like 20 different brackets and they pick 20 different national champions. And I'll tell you what my problem is. I've been doing this 17 years. I've been filling out brackets for 17 years. I've had great years. I've had pathetic years. I had a pathetic year last year. That's not true. I didn't have a pathetic year. I had 2 of the Final 4. I had 1 of the 2 national championship picks right. Unfortunately, I did not pick the correct national champion. But it was not my best, not my worst, not my best, though. I've had years where I had 0 Final 4 teams, and I've had years where I had all 4 Final 4 teams correct. Fill out one bracket and stand on business. Because in the 17 years that I've been doing this, let me tell you what I found so far. What I have found so far is one of the most aggravating things in the sports calendar. What I have found is that the number of y'all, and I will say y'all because it's an epidemic, the number of y'all who fill out 17 different brackets, you pick 17 national champions, and inevitably, on one of those brackets, you pick right. One of those brackets, you pick the national champion, you win your bracket competition, and none of you win and call or come on the internet or whatever and put up your brackets and go, yeah, I got this one right. It's the only one of the 17 I felt. No, what you do is you come at me with one bracket that you did real well on, and you go, I am the man. You're not, though. You're not, though.
All right, I have a question. So let's say that there are contests out there, because there are contests out there where you can enter bracket challenges. Every major sports thing does it. Is it okay to enter all of those? If you use the same bracket?
Yes, enter as many bracket contests as you want.
But you're saying you have to fill it out the same way on every single one.
Fill out your bracket. Just fill out a bracket. Fill out one. If you want to enter it in 100 different competitions, if you want to enter one with your family, if you want to enter one with your office pool, if you want to enter one on a website, on maybe one of the big networks competitions where they get 10 million entries, whatever, do whatever you want. Enter it as many places as you want to enter it. But man, stand on business, fill out a bracket, and let's roll, all right? Now, I get the pushback every year from a bunch of people who say, hey, hang on a second here, Rob Brown. You know how hard it is to pick a good bracket? Yes, I do. Here's Yahoo Sports explaining how hard it is to pick a good bracket.
Odds of filling out a perfect bracket are 1 in 9.2 quintillion. You'd have better odds of correctly picking a single specific grain of rice from all rice ever harvested in human history, winning the Powerball jackpot 3 times in a row, getting struck by lightning 5 times, correctly picking out one specific person on Earth, and then correctly picking out one specific hair on their head. So in conclusion, you're probably not going to have a perfect bracket.
You're not going to have a perfect bracket. Nobody's going to have a perfect bracket. 1 in whatever number it was quintillion. That's not going to happen, okay? It's just not. But nobody is asking you. Nobody is asking you to fill out a perfect bracket. What they're saying is, go make a run at getting as close as you can and showing that you know ball as well as anybody else. But stand on business. I was on last Tuesday, BetMGM Tonight, with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat. Now, Ryan Horvat is one of the most intelligent sports fans I've ever had the privilege of working with. Brad Evans, and when I say this, I mean it, is the most knowledgeable college basketball person that I have ever spoken with ever. I would put him up against any talking head on any network when it comes to talking college hoops. And we were having this conversation off the air before the segment started. Brad said, Rob Brown, how many brackets do you fill out? And I said, 1. And I go 10 toes in the sand and I stand on it. 1 bracket. Because it drives me nuts when people fill out 50 brackets with 50 national champions and one of them ends up looking good and then they go around talking about how big, smart ball know where they are. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. If I give you a multiple choice test and I let you fill it out with different answers every time, one of them's going to hit. One of them's going to be an A. You don't get to... I think that there should be an average. If you're going to fill out multiple brackets, you should be legally obligated to present them all at the same time. I'll tell you this. I went during the break to go ahead and get my bracket logged in on the Wire to Wire bracket contest, which, by the way, if you want in, I'm going to help them out. I'm going to help you out. I am looking, as we mentioned in the last segment, I am looking for the Rob Brown Show, for the Armada to take over the Wire to Wire bracket contest. I'll tell you what I want. What I want is at the end of this bracket competition, I want to call, a text, an email from the boss that says, see me in my office after the show. And after I get over the inevitable existential dread of, okay, well, Zoe, it's been nice working with you. And I walk down the hallway and I sit in the chair and he goes, close the door. And I shut the door gently and respectfully because that's who I am. And I sit down and I shut the door and he says, hey man, what's the deal? And I go, what do you mean, boss? What deal? And he said, why did Colin Diesel come to me and say Rob Brown had his listeners jump into our bracket contest and they claim the first 50, 70, 75, 200 positions? Why did you have a bunch of listeners go into the Wire to Wire bracket contest, enter it, throw TRBS into their bracket name, and have 75 of your listeners run the top 3 pages of results? And I want to be able to say, just to prove the Armada knows ball, boss. Just to prove the Armada knows ball. Just to prove to them, to me, to the world, that the folks who are up at 6:32 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and the first thing that they do is go, let's find out what's going on in the world of sports. Let's tune in to hear what the Great One and Rob Brown are on about today. Those people are the diehards, the real deals, the P1s, the Class A's, the S tier, whatever you want to call them. I am here to prove that. I am here. I don't even have to do it. I'm going to just let y'all do it. I'm going to let y'all represent TRBS in the Wire to Wire bracket contest. So here's what we're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/thefanupstate. Or you're going to go to our Twitter feed at twitter.com/thefanupstate. Or you're just going to drop me an email right now at rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. And you're going to say, Rob Brown, I need the invitation. And I'm going to send you a link. And it's going to take you to a website, and you're going to get logged in, and you're going to get registered, and you're going to name your bracket. You're going to stick TRBS on the end of that name. We're going to stack these brackets up at the top of the Wire to Wire leaderboard. That's what we're going to do. So, Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/thefanupstate. Toss us a like and a follow while you're there. Go to the Twitter page, @thefanupstate. Toss us a follow while you're there. You can go find the invite yourself, or you can drop me an email at rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will personally send it to you. Get yourself entered, get yourself registered, get yourself set up, because the competition starts tomorrow. And I don't want anything more in the world than when this thing's all over for Cole and Diesel to go look at the results and just see TRBS, 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 TRBS from the top to the bottom of the first 3 pages of results on the scoreboard when it's all said and done. Facebook.com/thefanupstate, Twitter.com/thefanupstate, or shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will personally send you the link to get locked in and registered to make sure that we prove to the Tolos, we prove to the boss, we prove to ourselves that we know ball. Let's go. Speaking of knowing ball, when we come back, North Carolina was the most controversial inclusion that I can remember in the NCAA March Madness tournament. And then last night, they went out and knocked down 14 three-pointers and won by a lot of points in the play-in game. Does that change our mind? We're going to talk some bracketology coming up on the show. We got to get to the NFL, big moves by the Bengals and more. All that and more coming up. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio, baby. It's the Fan Upstate.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be offended by that. I'm not, but that's how that works. You win the first round, you go to the second round. So how was food in New Orleans?
I mean, it's the greatest food city in America, in my ever so humble opinion. It was good. We did, so we stopped on Thursday in Biloxi. We stayed at the Hard Rock Biloxi overnight and had a good time, did some sports betting at the book there, drove over Friday morning, went straight downtown, straight to the quarter, I didn't really eat anything because we're waiting on my brother and his wife and my nephew. We went and got po' boys Friday night. Saturday morning, we went and did a really nice breakfast at a nice little local bakery, which was very good. I had a crawfish etouffee pastry. It was delightful. It was not what I should have eaten in New Orleans, Louisiana at 9 o'clock in the morning, but it was
the head
delightful.
like sticking out of the pastry?
No, they peel the crawfish and they just put the meat into it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
so they make a etouffee.
so that changes what I thought it looked like.
Yeah, so we had a little etouffee. We did some. I'll tell you what I never thought about doing, and they did it, and I was blown away. Was deep fried jambalaya balls. Like they made jambalaya, but then they deep fried it like a hush puppy.
Oh, that sounds
my
good.
God, yo!
That sounds really good.
Oh my Lord! The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan of State. Welcome back, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Great to have you this AM. If you want in on our bracket contest, and by our, I mean the stations, and by the stations, I mean wire to wires, but we're taking it over. You can go to the Facebook page, The Fan Upstate, the Twitter page, The Fan Upstate. Both of them have links up, or you can email me as Tripset just did, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will directly send you a link that you can utilize to get yourself in there. What I want you to do is when you enter your bracket, I want you to name it whatever you want to name it, but then I want you to put TRBS on the end of it. Put TRBS on the end of it so that everybody knows when we go in there and dominate this thing that you're a member of the Armada. All right. Let's get some stuff in here, shall we? The North Carolina Tar Heels found themselves waiting till the very last day to find out if they were going dancing or not. And they did. They got in at the very end. They just snuck in at the very end. But it's not without a little bit of controversy here. And it's without, or not without a little bit of controversy, because of the fact that the head of the NCAA Championship Tournament Selection Committee is a cat by the name of Bubba Cunningham. Now, Bubba, you may know, or you may not, Bubba's also kind of a big deal for North Carolina. You see, Bubba Cunningham is the athletic director of the selection committee. He is also the chairman of the National Championship Selection Committee. North Carolina secured the final spot in the tournament, edging out Boise State, Indiana, Ohio State, and West Virginia. Now, because I think that fairness, transparency is important, I do think it is important that we put out there that according to reports, Bubba Cunningham recused himself from any conversations regarding North Carolina's inclusion. They were right there on the bubble. They were being discussed extensively and allegedly, and I will take it as true. Allegedly, anytime that conversation came up, Bubba Cunningham excused himself from the room and allowed the people in the room to talk about it without his inclusion and involvement. However, you know what it feels like to me? It kind of feels to me like when it's spring or it's summer and it's hot and it's gross and it's muggy and it's voluntary workout time, and the head coach stands in front of the room, in front of the roster, and he says to everybody in there, "Hey guys, I can't make you show up to voluntary workouts. That would be against the rules. I can't tell you that voluntary workouts are voluntary, wink, but they're mandatory. I can't tell you that. In fact, I can't even be here when these voluntary workouts take place. I got to be somewhere else." I will say, however, that the other coaches will be here. And the other coaches will be writing down who shows up for the voluntary workouts. Now, they're voluntary. They're not obligatory. They're voluntary. You can be here if you want, and you don't have to be if you don't. I'm just saying. My assistant head coach will be here with a pen and a clipboard, and he will be writing down who shows up to our voluntary workouts and, who doesn't. Are they really voluntary? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, as a longtime sports guy, And I'd be even willing to bet, without having brought this up to him before I got here, that Lonzo would agree with me on this. Ain't no voluntary involuntary workouts.
Yeah, I felt like I was one of the only people who understood this isn't voluntary, that what the coach is doing. Not a lot of smart people in some of those rooms.
Do you want to be on the field, on the court, on the diamond when the season rolls around? Well, then I'd suggest.
It's like when we get those anonymous surveys that we have to take here, but they still know whether you took it or not. Okay. All right. If it's anonymous, how do you know whether I did it or not?
That is correct.
Okay. All right.
So there's controversy. I'll allow John Rothstein, a big-time college basketball talking head from CBS Sports, to explain.
I say this to Gary a lot, especially the last few days. You're a better man than I am, because I'm going to talk about the bad right now, and I'm going to talk about it emphatically. If the criteria for the NCAA tournament in terms of getting an at-large bid is to beat other NCAA tournament teams if you're on the bubble, how in the world could North Carolina get an at-large bid over Indiana and over West Virginia? Indiana, unlike North Carolina, has no quad 3 and 4 losses. Indiana went on the road to East Lansing and beat Michigan State, who's a 2 seed, and beat Purdue on its home floor, who is a 4 seed in this bracket. And Indiana did not get in the NCAA tournament. Then let's talk about West Virginia. West Virginia won a game at Allen Fieldhouse. West Virginia beat Gonzaga on a neutral court. It beat Arizona on a neutral court. It also beat Iowa State. And North Carolina is in over those 2 teams. I'm just waiting for somebody to say, we got some swamp water to sell you in Florida. That's how I'm doing it now. Now, with that said, I want to bring this in. North Carolina not deserving to be in has no bearing on how the Tar Heels could play in the bracket. That's right. Look at VCU in 2011.
That's fine. That's fine. But the question is not, do we think UNC will make a run in the bracket? The question is, should they have gotten to the bracket at all? Jerry Palm, who you've heard on this station a gazillion times over the years, was on CBS Sports, and he weighed in as well.
As I'm concerned, the committee missed North Carolina. There's just no case for them at all. In fact, I've been doing this a very long time, and no team that I've ever dealt with has so conclusively proven that they're not an NCAA tournament team and still made the field. It's not just the 1-12 record against quad 1 teams. It's that none of those quad 2 teams they're giving them credit for, those weren't tournament teams either. You know, it's almost like they wanted to show us a little bit of what an expanded tournament would look like. But it's just, I mean, Texas, if you want to put Texas in, that's fine, but I'll never see the case for North Carolina.
So there are 2, and they were not alone, but 2 of, I would say, the biggest names in the college basketball talking landscape. And I will also add Brad Evans to that conversation as well. Again, host of the BetMGM Tonight radio program, which airs on this and fine Odyssey stations nationally every single weekday from 7 to 11 p.m. I say this sincerely. I have never spent more time with somebody who knows college basketball, than Brad Evans. Guy's ridiculous. He was out on this as well. UNC basketball won 8 of their last 10 games, but in those quad 1 games, as they are called, games against the top 25, 30 teams in America, the best of the best, they were 1-12. They followed up their loss to the top-ranked Duke Blue Devils, and just about everybody said, yo, hold on, 1-12 in quad 1. They were 21-1 in quads 2, 3, and 4. But if you look at their quad 2 wins, none of them were against other teams that made the tournament. Now, you do obviously find yourself in a predicament where perhaps you end up in a little bit of circular logic and you go, wait a minute, if all the teams that were quad 2 didn't make the tournament, which means all the other quad 2 teams played quad 2 teams that didn't make, it's kind of like that SEC football argument we've had for years and years of, well, if every one of them starts in the top 25, then by definition, every game's a top 25 game, and then they get to brag about how they're all these top 25 games, but they don't play top 25 teams outside of themselves. It's circular logic. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, bracketology selecting the field of 68 is 1,000% a nerd conversation. And if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. But it's the biggest sporting event in America. You're going to have to deal with
We
it.
started going quad. What's like what? I'm starting to drift here with all the quad stuff.
That's fine.
Especially after tuning in last night for a little bit and going, wow, this team doesn't deserve to be here. And I turned it off when they were up like by 20 or something like that. Yeah.
There are 68 teams out of 360 plus who get an opportunity to go dance. That just is what it is. So
I hope they win it all because I think that would be hilarious.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, ain't a damn chance they're going to. Ain't a damn chance. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I think that in fact, I have not filled out my bracket yet. I'll be doing it this afternoon when I get an opportunity to sit down and do my math because nerd.
Okie dokie.
But if you want to win the bracket, that's what you got to do.
Do you?
Yes.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You could be the blonde bimbo down the hall, me, and have just as good a chance of winning as you do.
I'm very excited that Lonzo just referred to himself as the blonde bimbo down the hall.
I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
No,
the.
Oh, sorry.
The blonde
bimbo down the hall.
That's right.
Yes, there are going to be people who get lucky. I lost a bracket competition to a young lady by the name of Kelly, who was my traffic manager. That's the person who organizes the station a very long time ago, because she sat down one year and she said, can you just tell me the mascots of the teams? And I said, yeah. And she quite literally picked her bracket by using two things. Number one, the number next to their name. She didn't even know what the numbers were. She just knew that one's obviously higher than 16. So that's good, right? And then when there were ones that were kind of like, 7s and 5s or whatever, she would say, oh, I think a tiger would beat a blue jay in a fight. The next year, she won the damn thing again by Googling the head coaches and by picking the one she thought was more attractive.
See, this has got to burn people like you up. Nowhere's a ball. That this is such a guessing game because there's no way that you can just.
First off,
every once in a while you can go chalk and it works, but usually it doesn't.
It is first and foremost important, I think, to remember that there will be tens of millions of brackets filled out, and there will be like 15 Kellys. There'll be like 15 Kellys who are going to win their bracket because they go with some weird system like, what coach do I want to get down and dirty with more? Hey, if it works, it works. I can't hate the player. But if you're going to fill out a bracket and you genuinely want a chance to win, yeah, it's important to look at resumes and matchups and numbers and Torviks and WOPs and all these different things.
What the heck is a Torvik? Don't nobody know what a Torvik is?
These are always
different
ways.
Let me text Diesel and Cole and see if they know what a Torvik is.
That's why we're about to dominate that competition.
Is that a spell with a Q or a
Torvik?
Okay, a K.
All of these things
sounds Russian.
All of these things are different ways to look at all the different data about what a team has done and who they did it against, and put them in different ways of looking at to see, well, they perform better in this situation and worse here and blah, 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 blah. It's all nerd stuff. I don't disagree with you. But when it comes down to 360 teams play basketball and 68 get a chance to dance, yes, I want the teams with the best resume in. And so the question mark here was, does North Carolina have the resume that should get them in? The answer was absolutely not. Absolutely not. They do not, and they should not be in. And you heard Rothstein point out there are teams like Indiana who got left out, who did go on, not just win a bunch of Q1 games, but go on the road to win them. North Carolina didn't do that. They had one quad 1 win out of 13 efforts, and all of their quad 2 victories were against other non-tournament quad 2 teams. It's just not good. Yet, last night, this team went up against Arizona State, another team that was kind of right there on the bubble, right there trying to get in, prove that they deserve to be there. And North Carolina ran them out of the damn gym. R.J. Davis had 26 with a couple of steals. Carolina had 39 rebounds. They out-rebounded the Aztecs by 11, including Would they have like 10 offensive or 10 second chance points that they converted on? This team ran them out of the gym. That's what makes this tournament so damn interesting, because this is a team that at 23-13 did not have the resume to get in, should not have gotten in. There was nothing that stood out about them to get them in, and yet when they got matched up with another team in the same bubble, they went out there and won by damn near 30 points. I love March. I love college basketball in March. It's the best. We're going to talk a lot of college basketball when we come back. I got your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports. We got the audio blitz coming up. We got Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us. We got Denton Day of SiriusXM joining us. It's going to be a busy day, so don't go anywhere. I am Rob Brown, and I'm glad to be back. The Blonde Bimbo is on the other side. Lonzo with a sports flash.
I tell you, my quad 1 and my quad 2, both pretty sore. A lot of bending this weekend. First tournament win in the 2025 NCAA Championship Tournament belongs to Alabama State, who hit a game-winning layup with 0.7 seconds left to knock off St. Francis 70-68. The Hornets had 16 from Amar Knox, 11 from TJ Madlock, and 10 from TJ Hines in the win. Alabama State will move on to play number 1 overall Auburn in the first round. North Carolina, who we were just talking about, was one of the most criticized tournament bid earners in recent memory, but added to their argument with a first 4 win over San Diego State, 95-68. That's a lot of points. They whipped their butts, and of course they're not supposed to be there, so they shouldn't be able to do that. Tune in tonight at 7:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the North Texas Mean Green. The first round of the NIT basketball tournament is Furman versus North Texas right here. Bet you didn't know they had a basketball team on the Fan Upstate. The North Texas Mean Green. Spartanburg Jay, he started doing that a couple weeks ago because he was told he could lose weight doing it, and so he's been doing it. Most of us thought he wouldn't make it through the first day. Would only make it like 45 minutes. He's been standing ever since. Very motivated by being told that you can't do that. Always fun coming back from vacation and seeing if you can remember how to do all the stuff that you do.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
And off we go into hour number 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, who I will only refer to as the sports bimbo like 4 to 6 more times, tops. 6 to 8 more times, tops. 6 to 8 more times today, tops.
No, that's a little too much treble in it.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit. And I'm all about that bass, no treble. Meghan Trainor lyric being dropped on the show. We're well-rounded, and I'm not just talking about physically. All right?
It's about bass and then well-rounded and
All about that bass, no treble. All about that bass, no treble. That song slapped. I don't care what anybody says. That song ripped. Meghan Trainor had a run there going for a hot minute. And then Elle King stepped up and kind of took her to the woodshed a little bit. That's a 2015 pop culture conversation. I mean, again,
who's Elle King?
Elle King sang a song, X's and O's, they want me.
Oh, okay. I know that song.
I think it's Elle King. I'm like 90% sure that's Elle King. I mean, I'm not now, but I was when I said it.
Wow. See, I was all ready to look that up to see. Now I'm going to have to.
I'm gonna say it's Elle King. I'm gonna say that's the correct name. Either way, there was a hot minute circa 2015 where the ladies of pop were putting on a show.
You are correct. Wow.
Hell yeah. I mean, if there's one thing I know, it's mid-2010s pop queens. Okay? And I've upgraded, I've translated that. I got to tell you. 10 hours in the car down, 10 hours in the car back over the past 6 days. And the lady friend, you know, we're a give and take relationship. We split who gets to listen to what on the drive. So, like, we'll spend 45 minutes where Rob Brown's listening to a Brian Cox lecture on quantum physics, and then she'll take over and play, you know, Chaperone and whatever the hot music of the day is. And I'm going to tell you right now, kind of dig this Sabrina Carpenter chick a lot right now. Kind of dig some, like, I know she's been in the public limelight for a couple of minutes now, and I'm a little late to the party. I usually am. I usually don't get into whoever's on the top of the charts when they're on top of the charts. Like, I need a month or two.
Booker T, you mean her music, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh. Booker T calling what is very clearly his favorite move in wrestling is just absolute gold right now. But got to listen to a little Sabrina Carpenter. I'm kind of in. She's kind of good. I'm kind of a fan. All right? So you can put Sabrina up there with Chaperone, and the 40-year-old white guy Rob Brown is getting down to a little pop princess music here and there. Judge me, I don't care.
I saw her on Saturday Night Live's special.
She's funny as hell.
She is. But
she's got
I don't know
timing.
what style of music does she do?
Just pop. Just pop. And again, like
I'm not sure she has a neck. Am I thinking of the right person?
I'm gonna say no, but I can't say for sure no. I'm gonna say I think no. Sabrina Carpenter is I think it's fair to say she's an attractive young lady. I don't think I'm stepping out of the zone of appropriateness by saying that she's an attractive young lady. There's a reason.
All right, there is neck there, but the front pictures make it look like it doesn't exist. I'm just saying.
She works the angles, man. She works the angles. She knows it's all about the angles. It's all about the Instagram angles.
Good for her.
Once you know the angles, man, like half of being a photogenic person is knowing the angles. I realized that after like picture number 6 with the wife, because she's got the pose, Lonzo, which is 45-degree angle to the camera. All right. Front leg goes up in front of the other, up on a toe. All right, so you
Here's-
got the knee bent and
yeah.
the thigh out. Then you take the hand, you put it on the back, not on the side of the hip, on the back of the hip, and you make a claw. You don't just put it there. You make a claw with the fingers like that, and then you tilt the hips away from the camera. It elongates the torso. It allows you to present your best assets forward, and then you cock the head back into the side because that lengthens the neck. It gets rid of the double chin a little bit, right? And that's the pose.
I would say if you need some help, you should talk to Roy downstairs because he seems to have a pose.
Angles,
also.
baby.
And
It's
he
a
could
social
probably
media
teach you.
world. If you don't look good on the internet, you ain't going nowhere. All right. That's just the world. I think I've told you this story before. I don't know. When I worked for the TV station, I got 2 TV stories that have stuck with me. Then we're getting to the water cooler cheat sheet. I got 2 stories. One, when I first got hired for the TV network a very long time ago, I got hired as just a reporter, an all beats reporter. Anything happening in Okaloosa County, Rob Brown was the man on the scene to cover it. But when I got in, I got the foot in the door, and I started talking to my boss then, who hilariously is actually a news director of one of our TV stations here now. He and I have reconnected here. When I got that job, and he said, "What's your long term? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Look, dude, I want to be a sports director of a TV network, right? Like, I want to be the sports director. I want to be the guy who comes in here and does the 10 o'clock sports everywhere. And he's going to whatever games he wants, sending people out, whatever." And he said, "Well, you're going to have some work to do." He said, "You've got the talent, you've got the personality, you've got the voice, you've got the presentation." And I said, "What do I need to do?" And he said, "Drop about 40 pounds. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. And he didn't laugh like at all. Story number 2 was that on the very first day that I was on television, and if this story doesn't make Lonzo laugh, I don't know what will. The very first day I was on television, I was doing a story down at the Destin Harbor with a young lady by the name of Laura Hussey, who is the number 1 reporter in the county. She was getting promoted to.
Did you say Hussey?
Yeah, her name is Laura Hussey, and she was a very sweet lady. I did not know why she didn't pick a stage name. Not my business. Anyway, we went out.
Well, Hussey kind of stands out.
I mean, it did stand out. Still does. She's still down there. She's still the morning show anchor on WEAR Channel 3 in Pensacola, Florida.
So shout out to her for still being Hussey.
Shout out Laura Hussey. Taught me everything I know about TV. Very first day on the job, they sent me out to the Destin Harbor. I did a story on red tide. Dead fish everywhere. It was awful. So I did this story, and I went
not
back.
the Sean Connery movie? I think
Correct. That was no, that's Red October.
Okay, I was read something.
Red tide is an algae bloom that kills all the fish in a particular area. So I did the story. I go back to the studio. I edit my package together. I put a wonderful package on TV, and it airs on the 6 o'clock news. First time I've ever done a story on TV. I was real proud of it. It was a good story. I made the science behind red tide really entertaining because I'm good at this.
You didn't use a chart, did you?
I did not use a chart. They would not let me use a chart. I had a lot of pictures of dead fish. So I put the red tide package on TV, and it airs, and I call the Madre, my own dear sweet mother, and I say, "Mom, did you see the news piece?" And she said, "I did." And I said, what'd you think? How'd it go? And she said, "I think you looked great. I think you sounded great." She said, "Honestly, I love you, but I think you probably need to lose a couple of lbs," which she wasn't wrong. I was hefty at the time. I was butting like 280 at the time. I was a big boy. I was like, "Well, Mom, the camera adds 10 pounds. And my mother says, how many cameras did they have pointed at you, son?" I still haven't recovered from that. That was like 10 years ago. I still have not bounced back from that moment.
She still texts you like a couple times a week. I'm wondering what she says and does.
I think in her, like, she's trying to pretend that she didn't say that. And for the record, I think that's the funniest thing anybody's ever said to me. Like, it's one of those things that, like, years later, you're like, damn, my own mom burned the hell out of me. But it was hilarious, and I'm going to give her that. How many cameras did they have pointed at you? Cool. Thanks, Mom. Hey, let's do the water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "Shut the hell up," even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office this AM and start talking sports with your coworkers or whoever it is that you're going to talk to. This is what you will be talking about. Let's dive right in to item number 1. Texter said, "Thanks, Rob. I have X's and O's stuck in my head now. What do you want? It's like it's slapped. The song was catchy, man. The song was a hook. It was catchy.
They've been using that on commercials lately too, so maybe that's why.
I mean, if it's back, and I'm good with it. All right. Item number 1, a pair of play-in games last night saw a pair of teams make it into the field of 64 as we whittle the first 8 down to the final 64 that will begin the dance tomorrow morning. Alabama State, the Hornets, baby!
You need to give this game a little love.
I do need to
because
give this game a little love.
It was back and forth the entire time, and that ending was excellent. I watched that entire game, and that was a lot of struggles early on, but then the 3-pointers started hitting, and it was a little fun to watch.
0.7 seconds left on the clock. Alabama State on the inbound. And ladies and gentlemen, the March Madness got real mad real fast because with an inbound under the basket.
Seconds left, and here we go. This is where dreams are made. They're going for it all. Simpson, home run play, the deflection. Oh! Layup! 0.7 seconds left. Thinking that somebody was going to get a hand on it, but watch this, Bureau. Everybody gets a hand on it, and they get a friendly...
0.7 seconds left on the clock, and Alabama State gets the Hail Mary full court pass layup for the dub. And just like that, with a 70-68 win over the Red Flash of St. Francis, the Alabama State Hornets are in the bracket. They are not alone because perhaps, just maybe, the most controversial selection to the field that I can remember, and I mean this in my career. The Tar Heels of North Carolina had their crack at a play-in game last night, and boy, howdy did they get the job done. 95-68, the Heels knock off the Aztecs of San Diego State. They are in. RJ Davis had 26. You got 16 off the bench from Seth Trimble, 12 from Van Allen Lubin, and the Heels are now moving on as well. We do have 2 more.
Wait. They don't belong there, Rob. They're not supposed to be there. It's controversial. Everyone's angry about them being there.
Well, let's hold
Why
on.
are they there?
Whoa. Sorry. Let's hold our horses just a little bit here. It was a play-in game. We're not talking about a round of 32, a Sweet 16 30-point victory. We're talking about a play-in game.
So all those people who are angry about a play-in game?
Correct.
Okay.
Because a play-in game is still getting you an opportunity to punch a ticket that Indiana didn't get that pot. The Ohio State Buckeyes had a better argument than the Heels.
You know how they should have got in? They should have won more games. Talking about Ohio State. Same with Indiana. You should have won more games.
I mean,
you didn't. If you won more games, it wouldn't have been in question.
But they won more games than North Carolina did. That's the point.
Should have won.
They did win more games.
Should have won more quad 1 or quad 2 games or whatever those quad.
Now
things
you're getting it. Now you're getting into the nerd conversation like the rest of it. Now you're getting into the go outside nerd conversation like the rest of us. We do have 2 more play-in games tonight. A pair of Sweet 16 teams, Mount St. Mary's and American, will be playing at 6:40. Then a pair of 11 teams, Xavier and Texas, will square off at 9:10 p.m. The winner of those 2 games are on their way to the 20. We do also have NIT action on the way, including your Furman Paladins. F you one time, F you two times, F you three times. Say it with me. F you all the time. Are on the road at the North Texas Mean Green. Tip at 8 o'clock tonight in round one of the NIT, and the Furman Paladins 8.5-point dogs. Low over-under in this one of just 130.5. A couple of defensive stalwarts getting at it tonight in college basketball.
What you can hear right here live on the air with Dan Scott, starting at 7:30 tonight on the Fan.
You are correct, sir. That is exactly correct. That action will tip at 8 p.m. Little pregame early, little postgame late with Dan Scott and the gang live from Texas this evening. Let's rapido through items 2 and 3. Item number 2. Big NFL news coming down yesterday. We're going to talk about this coming up here in just a moment. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins will remain Cincinnati Bengals. Both of them getting themselves new long-term extensions yesterday. A couple of weeks ago, T. Higgins got the tag. A couple of weeks ago, teams like the Carolina Panthers were calling up Cincinnati going, yo, we give you like a lot to get that guy wearing our colors. Turns out that the two of them and quarterback Joey B were all on the same page when those two guys signed long-term contracts. Jamal Chase, $161 million deal. It is the highest average annual salary for a non-quarterback in league history. T. Higgins deal, a $115 million deal that will carry him through 2028. I'm going to put that on the back burner for now because I am coming back to that here in just a minute. So let's dive into item number 3. Hockey fans in Sweden have been watching their squad, their country, put out a lot of talent for a long time. They've been sending players to the National Hockey League for a long time, and now they'll get an opportunity for some of them to come home. Why? Because the NHL is sending more games international. They announced yesterday that the Nashville Predators and the Pittsburgh Penguins are headed to Stockholm, Sweden to play a pair of games next season in November. Sid the Kid Crosby and the Penguins will take on Steven Stamkos and the Preds on November 14th, and then again 2 days later on the 16th. It'll be the Penguins' first trip to Europe in 17 years. It will be the first Preds game in Sweden. However, it will be the third time in franchise history that they have played outside of North America. The league has said for a while, since the beginning of the Global Series that kicked off back in 2017, that their goal has been to allow fans from a particular country every year to not just experience the NHL, but to send players, great players, all-star caliber players from those countries to those countries to allow them to play. 6 Swedes between the two teams includes 3-time Norris Trophy winner Carlson and Forsberg, Sweden's 7th all-time leading NHL goal scorer. There are other players in this that are going to be playing in front of their home country for the first time, wearing their NHL gear, not their team's international gear. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I am on board, as much as I am happy to see teams expand, if we're going to do it right. And this is a great way to do it. If we are going to send teams to play abroad, send it in a way that the fans are going to get jacked up and excited about it. Don't send the New York Giants to Germany. Send the Chiefs. Don't send the Seattle Seahawks to London. Send the Chiefs. I don't know. Send somebody good.
Philadelphia.
Send Philly. That way people won't burn down houses and stuff. I really like this. I like this. You're sending 6 of the best hockey players you have, all from Sweden, to go play in Sweden. I think it's great. Swedish Chef. That's a Muppets reference. We've gone from Meghan Trainor and Elle King to the Swedish Chef.
I thought you were making fun of Patrick Mahomes there for a second. Disrespectful.
Patrick Mahomes here. I was going Swedish Chef, who is, I'm going to say, unironically, easily the second best Muppet. Anybody here that wants to argue that Gonzo's not number one? Gonzo's number one. It's not even a fight. Fuzzy Bear's up there.
What about Scooter?
Scooter's great.
Sam the Eagle.
Love Sam the Eagle. But
Anybody in the band, Dr. Teeth.
in the Electric Mayhem, baby.
Yes.
Untouchable band. Untouchable band. But like Gonzo was willing to lay it all on the line for all of us, for our entertainment. My man's jumping motorcycles across the Muppet Show variety show stage. You can't touch it. And then there's Swedish Chef. We got to run to a break. I'm Rob Brown, the sports bimbo Lonzo. I'm sorry. Kinda. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I need to borrow the remote because there's live baseball happening right now that I would love to find.
You'll have to find it because I don't care.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
By the way, this is kind of an affront to this room. I don't want to talk about it on the air, but
I will.
No, because there's a certain team that's not represented in here. It should be.
I mean,
If you're gonna throw that up there, where's?
hey,
Yeah, I know. But the guy who is probably the one who put up the flag.
all right, guys, give me 45 seconds. We'll be right back. Baseball's on TV, y'all. 7:23 in the morning. We're playing in Tokyo. Oh, no. Cubs and Dodgers in Tokyo. Here comes Ohtani. Woo!
Should I show up to the ratings party with my 6-year-old granddaughter and let her throw axes?
Yes. Absolutely. If only, let's see if she can beat anybody. So here's a question. I know a lady who works there. Do we put together a practice session? Do I call her and go, yo, I need to borrow a lane for an hour so Zoe and I can get some practice in? So we show up and dominate? I feel like the answer is yes.
I mean, who's the competition? Are salespeople coming? I mean,
I don't care. Competition's everybody in the building.
no, I mean maybe Kevin could throw it. Maybe one of those guys.
Well, here's the thing. The sales staff did one there
Yeah.
like a couple of weeks ago. So I'm like, they kind of have an edge. I feel like we need to nullify that. You know, sometimes the sports world taketh but sometimes the sports world giveth. Yesterday morning, we left New Orleans, Louisiana at 6:30 in the a.m. portion of the day, or as I like to describe it, at o'clock in the morning. We had to get back. We had a lady who was house sitting the dog for us. We're like, all right, let's get back. Let's give the dog some time to chill out before bedtime. Let Rob Brown have some time to put a show together, figure out everything's going on in the sports world, yada, yada, yada.
When did you cross the timeline?
About 11 o'clock yesterday afternoon, or yesterday morning, which then turned into yesterday afternoon for me. As I time traveled into the new time zone. About 9:30, little Atlanta traffic, pushed it a little closer to like 9:45 in the car. And as I was driving down the road out of the great state of Louisiana, I was looking for something to listen to. It was very early in the morning. It was too early for the wife to allow me to throw a little Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC, my hype-up song of choice, on the player. So I was, kind of skipping around. I pay a little bit monthly to have Sirius XM so I can tune into my good friend Cody Decker on his international show, et cetera, et cetera. And when I turned on the satellite radio, I got a little notification that said, hey, Major League Baseball's live. And I went, oh, that's right. And so my wife, who I believe immediately regretted her decision, said, yeah, if you want to listen to baseball, that's fine. So I spent about 2 hours in the car listening to Cubs-Dodgers yesterday. Dodgers start off 1-0 after a win over Chi-Town. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're doing it again right now. It is 7:27 in the morning, and Shohei Ohtani is at the dish in a real, live, competitive, the record counts Major League Baseball game.
So this isn't preseason?
This is real on the books
Opening day
baseball,
happened?
baby.
When was that?
Literally yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, or a little bit in the last segment with the NHL announcing that they are sending 2 games between the Preds and the Penguins over to Sweden in the 2025-26 NHL season. November of this year, we'll have a couple of early morning hockey games when the Preds and the Pens get together in Sweden. There are 2 games taking place in Tokyo, Japan, in the Tokyo Dome, site of some of the most legendary professional wrestling matches of all time. Well, they've converted it into a baseball. I mean, it is a baseball stadium. It's a wrestling stadium they play baseball in, but it's a baseball stadium. Shohei Ohtani and his Dodgers taking on the Chicago Cubs, the Windy City Saints. And I got to tell you, I was already gassed, juice, electrified, ready to roll.
Just try to take his ankles out. What's going on?
Hey, man, if you want to go get Shohei, you throw low and inside, you back him off the plate because his power alley's on the right-hand side.
Well,
and
that was a
that's
mistake.
what happens when you don't, Lonzo. Shohei takes a 99-mile-an-hour four-seamer. 2 feet shy of dinger number 1. For Shohei. This man, they said it hit the yellow line. It cleared. So in the top of the 5th, already up 5-2, Shohei Ohtani goes for a 2-run shot to put his Dodgers up by more runs than they already were. That guy is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, very good at baseball.
So in the psychology of baseball, the guy threw it at his ankles, thinking that he was going to be concerned about, his ankles, and then he throws one right there.
So Shohei Ohtani, a power hitter, obviously, arguably the best hitter in Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani is a guy who he is scariest when he can get the bat extended. He's an outside hitter. He wants that ball out over the far side of the plate, gets those arms extended, and he powers through. So with a guy like Shohei,
well, we have an umpire review.
We sure do, because I didn't think it hit above the yellow line. It doesn't have to clear the fence. It's got to hit the yellow line or above to be a dinger. And so they are going to review to see if it did. This ball got hit 1,000 miles in the air, and that is, I'm going to say hit a fan, but I'm going to say it cleared the fence. I'm going to say that's a dinger. I'm going to say that's going to count. Oh, yeah, that thing's That thing's 3 feet clear of the yellow
Yeah,
line.
fan,
it's
a
obvious,
fan
Omar.
knocked it back into play.
Yeah, fan did not make the catch, which, if you're with me, you never hear
You know,
the end of that.
if that fan had a glove, he would have caught it.
And you know what he would have lost? His dignity. Instead, he just lost the baseball, but not his dignity. Shohei
And
goes
maybe
yard.
a finger. That thing's got to be
Things
going
cooking.
pretty quick.
First home run of the season for Shohei Ohtani is a solo shot to right center. Puts the Dodgers up 6-2 in the top of the 5th. Baseball's back, baby. I was already gassed from being, had a nice little 4-day vacation with the weekend wedged in the middle. I was already feeling real good, and now I tune in just in time to watch. I've said it before, I'll say it again, the best baseball player in the history of the game of baseball go yard for the first time. Shohei had a stand-up double yesterday. Last year, this man had 99 extra base hits. That's insane. That was a DH who won the MVP. We've been talking for a while now about LeBron James and how at 40 years old, what LeBron is doing, averaging plus 28 points a game, averaging 10 boards, 7 assists per game. My man's like a solid couple of games away from averaging a triple-double at 40 years old. And how, even if you don't like the guy, if you're not watching him right now, you're missing out on history. Shohei Ohtani's doing that, but it ain't because it's 40. Shohei Ohtani's just the best baseball player I've ever seen. Ever. And we get an opportunity here at 7:32 in the morning to tune in and watch it. I am for more international games, great one, if only because you and I get to turn on the TV at 7:30 a.m. and watch baseball that counts. Let's do this with every sport. I am off. There's a conversation going on right now that has picked up steam in the last couple of weeks that apparently there's some discussion, elevated discussions in the National Football League to play an international Super Bowl. That there are authority figures in the world of the NFL that have genuinely asked the question, should we send a Super Bowl to London? We're trying to court them. We're trying to win them over. We're trying to grow the fan base because, again, there will be a team there in the next decade. I suspect Jacksonville, but whatever.
This is selfish of me probably, but I don't care because I can't afford to go to the Super Bowl here. So what do I care if it goes somewhere else?
You want 11 a.m. Super Bowl?
Yes.
Super Bowl on
yes,
Sunday?
I absolutely do.
Okay, all
that
right.
would be awesome.
All right, that's unfair. That's unfair. For those of us that have to get up at 3 o'clock in the gosh darn morning on Monday, that is unfair. There are very few times that Liberab the Woke Warrior is going to sound this way. But, that's ours, right? We're all on board with that's ours. Even if I can't afford Super Bowl tickets yet, even if I can't justify going, that's ours. That's our thing. I don't care if London or Germany or Brazil or Mexico or Canada or whatever get a team. In fact, I'm kind of for it, to be honest. I'm kind of for it because to me, more football means better football. Opening up not just NFL Europe, it's a good idea. The NBA's European League, it's a good idea. I think it's good for the growth of the game because you're going to find more football players, more basketball players in a global audience than you are by making everybody come here. I'm fine with. Hell, I'm even an advocate for some teams being international. Let's make it a true world championship. But not the Super Bowl, man. Not the Super Bowl. I will say this. I'm 1,000% on board for competitive baseball at 7:32 in the damn morning. Let's go. All right, when we come back, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, both get long-term extensions with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I want to attack this from the Joe Burrow perspective because I think we talked about how there's going to be a philosophy change with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, the way the draft is about to jump up in priority for NFL teams. I think you're about to see something remarkable around quarterbacks in the NFL, and I'll tell you what that is when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio, baby. It's the Fan Upstate. Oh, man. I'm going to go grab a water. You guys stay right there. I need water. I just realized that. Cincinnati Bengals, an interesting offseason story because last year this team had a quarterback who was threatening the 5,000-yard mark in Joey Ice Baby Burrow. And yet they didn't make the playoffs. And they didn't make the playoffs for two reasons, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion. The first reason they didn't make the playoffs was because their defense stank last year. The second reason they didn't make the playoffs was because despite throwing for threatening 5K yards, Joe Burrow spent more time than any one person should in their life running for his life. Their offensive line was bad last year too. And it created a world where Joe Burrow had an all-time quarterbacking season and his team didn't go to the NFL playoffs. And in a league where it almost feels a given that if your team has a quarterback threatening 5,000 yards, you're going to the playoffs. It was honestly kind of a shock that they did not get in. So here we go into the offseason. I'm coming to a point. This is not a Cincinnati Bengals segment. Stick with me. We come into the offseason, and I said I think there's going to be two primary objectives here for the Bengals. And neither one of them is to get an extension done with Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. My thought was they're going to find a way that they are going to be able to re-sign Trey Hendrickson, their Pro Bowl defensive end, and upgrade their offensive line, up to and including a belief that a T. Higgins might be on the trade block in return for a couple of offensive linemen, starting caliber, or at least one Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman, and a couple of draft picks. Yesterday it was announced that both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have signed extensions with the team. Jamar Chase is now the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. T. Higgins, who was franchise tagged a few days ago, is going to be staying there with a deal worth $115 million. So the Bengals have stacked their passing game and have done nothing to fix a defense that was an embarrassment last year, and have done nothing to keep Joe Burrow upright and keep those icy white jerseys clean, which is very interesting. Albert Breer was on the Rich Eisen show earlier this week, and he broke down kind of how we ended up in this spot, and there's an interesting take right in the middle of it that I want to break down.
It's an interesting situation where I think you see the power of the quarterback and what the history of the franchise sort of tells you. And this was going back to when Joe was drafted out of LSU 5 years ago. There were people wondering, like, does he really want to go there? Like, this is a pretty smart guy who seems to have a good sense for the business. Is he going to want to go to Cincinnati? And he chose to go there because he wanted to be the guy who changed everything. And I think he legitimately has done that here, in putting pressure on the Bengals organization to go and get these two guys done. You saw how public it was, for a couple of weeks there right around the Super Bowl, where Joe, basically, put it on management, said, I believe that we can get all of this done. Look at the Eagles. Look at how they've done it. We 100% can do this. And so, I think out of fear that this could be another Carson Palmer situation, the Bengals legitimately have changed the way that they do business, in getting these two guys taken care of. And, now I think going forward, and part of it too is those two guys banding together, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and Higgins winds up hiring Jamar Chase's agent. And so they were in cahoots and they wanted to make it work too. So it really is like the power of the players that got a lot of this done.
So, Albert Breer on the Rich Eisen show says there's a couple of things that came into play here. The first was that Joe Burrow was in management's ear. That Joey B was saying, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could get my top two weapons signed and here. Which, good. Because I did go into last year saying, early and often, hey, listen, this team is on the border of becoming irrelevant. And they should not be. Because Joe Burrow is one of the what's fair top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL for certain. Top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL?
Maybe top 5.
I would dare say I could make the argument Joe Burrow's inside the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. As far as I'm concerned, tier 1 is Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. I would say the worst power ranking that I would allow you to pull off Joe Burrow would be number 4. That's the lowest I would allow you to rank Joey B without catching smoke from me. So Joe Burrow says, whoa. I'm a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. I would make the argument. I'd take him, I don't know. I'd say you got to put him behind Mahomes, although Mahomes is going to have to prove next year that the Super Bowl was a one-off. I mean, I'm kind of tired of people pretending like that team didn't just dominate everybody up till the Super Bowl. I mean, Allen just got paid big time. I don't know. I would say this. You guys know I love me some Josh Allen. I don't know. I'd probably take Joey B ahead of Josh Allen. And that's saying something, right? Whatever the case is, it is inexcusable that they had a year out of Joe Burrow that they had last year and they didn't make the playoffs. So Joe Burrow goes to the team and goes, yo, I want my guys. And the Bengals acquiesce to his request. You got it, Joey B. Both of them not just signed, but signed for fat stacks, which, of course, minimizes the amount of available dollars that they can go, I don't know, re-sign Trey Hendrickson, because while they gave him permission to go find a trade partner, that doesn't mean they can't re-sign him if they want to. It takes capital off the table that they could utilize to go get an offensive lineman to keep Joe Burrow, again, unsacked, unbeaten to a bloody pulp in Cincinnati, Ohio. The second interesting thing that happened here was that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins got on the same page with each other. As Breer pointed out, T. Higgins actually fired his agent and hired Jamar Chase's agent. What does that mean? That means the guy that's in charge of one deal is in charge of both deals. That means that guy can come to the table and say, hey, look, I'm not saying that if you don't sign one, you're not signing either. I am saying if you don't sign both, you're not signing either. And would you look at that? They're both staying in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have talked the last couple of years now, and I feel pretty good about saying it's obviously more true now than ever before, that players over the past couple of years, and I think this is good, but we'll see. Players over the last year have increased the amount of bargaining and negotiating power that they hold with these teams. Because had the Bengals said, you know what? We don't feel like we're being, like we're going to allow ourselves. We are not going to allow ourselves to be held hostage here. So we're not signing either one of you. That's fine. Because some other NFL team would have said, oh, y'all boys then. Y'all want to ride together. Cool. We got room. We'll sign you both. And some other NFL's passing attack would have got a whole heck of a lot better. Maybe at the expense of a defense or an offensive line, like Cincinnati's, but somebody would have done it. And the problem therein lies that not only does your team get demonstrably worse, but it gets demonstrably worse and your top 4 quarterback in the league looks at your team and says to them, what are we doing? You just let my top 2 guys go be somebody else's top 2 guys? Nick Saban. What are we doing? What are we doing? Which means that a year or 2 or 3 or whenever it comes up down the line, when it's time for Joey B to decide if he wants to be a Bengal for life or not, Joey B might look at that same team and go, hey.
What the fudge, guys?
And decide he's out. And now all of a sudden, you went from having, yes, a very expensive passing attack, but a very expensive passing attack that was real good, to losing 2 of the top 7, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers in the NFL and one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. The Bengals had to get these deals done or the team would have imploded. Cincinnati would have been back to the Cincinnati Bengals of old. We would have taken the E away and put a U back in, and right back to the Bungles they go. They had to do this. And they had to do it because the players stacked everything in their favor by continuing to produce. Texter just said, wide receiver is the most overvalued position in football. The Patriots and Chiefs proved it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Guys like Mahomes, guys like Allen, guys like Burrow can take guys that would stink with average quarterbacks, and they can elevate them to be Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, but Burrow doesn't have that problem.
Burrow does not have to do that.
Yeah, those two receivers are not also Rans that would be bad anywhere else.
Oh, they're top of the league guys. Like I said, I think you have probably 2 of the top 9 wide receivers in the National Football League on the same offense there. The problem is, in order to have those 2 guys, you have to sacrifice elsewhere. And for the Bengals, that's on defense and that's on the offensive line. You know, the 2 things that effectively kept them out of the playoffs last year. The problem is because the wide receivers and the quarterback are all boys. They're all buddies. They're all totes BFFs, you guys. They effectively said without saying, we play together or not at all. And if the Bengals allowed a quarterback in Joe Burrow to eventually walk because he looks at the team and he goes, you guys took away my weapons. You took away my guys. You let my guys walk somewhere else. So guess what? Deuces, I'm out too. And now all of a sudden, the Bengals not only don't have 2 of the top 9 wide receivers in the National Football League, but now they also have just watched a Hall of Famer walk out the door. Here's the fun part. There's not a damn thing the NFL teams can do to prevent this. Because on one hand, I want to build great chemistry between my quarterbacks and my wide receivers. On one hand, I want my quarterbacks and my wide receivers to have the type of relationship that Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase have. On the flip side, this becomes a problem. This is an issue because these 2 guys wanted 2 of the highest AAV salaries in the National Football League to continue to be Bengals. And if they didn't give them to these 2 guys, there's a very good chance that Joey B walks out the door the first second he's got the opportunity. And you don't get Joey B's very often. You don't. This is a direct ramification of the NFL over the past handful of years, not just watching football at its highest level evolve into a quarterback game. The NFL pushed it to become a quarterback game. The NFL implemented rule changes to make it a quarterback-driven league, something we all agree that it is. So when you spend that much time and energy and effort making the NFL a quarterback-driven league, making football at its highest level a game that is dictated by the quarterback more than anybody else in the building, you run the risk of eventually a quarterback saying, look at me. I'm the captain now. I'm the general manager now. I'm going to pick the guys that I want. And if you don't get those guys for me, I'm gone. I'm out. See ya. And if a guy like Joe Burrow leaves, you got to get lucky as hell to find another one. You look at this NFL draft. We are now 40 some odd days away from the draft. And there is no one that has a genuinely strong feeling that Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or anybody in this class is going to be anywhere close to a Joe Burrow. So even if the texter's right when he says wide receiver is the most overvalued position in football, even if they're right, I'm here to say he is right. She is right. That individual, that texter is correct. I will agree with that. The problem is that quarterback is the most valuable position. And if a quarterback gets on a page and goes, these are the dudes I want, these are the dudes I'm going to play with, and if you don't hook it up so I play with them, then I'm out. your entire franchise walks out the door. Because, again, Joe Burrow is one of the top 4. And the fall off, I would argue, from quarterback 4 to quarterback 5 is massive.
As a player guy, you okay with this? Because that's kind of them. I mean, they don't have to sign those contracts.
They
but
sure
still.
don't. They sure don't. Bengals don't have to offer. This is kind of one of those spots where I'm like, hey, if you're Cincinnati and you're going, that's too much to ask. You don't get to push us around like this, Jamar, T, and Joey B. You don't get to push us around. The consequence of that is that your whole franchise walks out the door, and you get to decide what's the valuable decision here. Who the hell said running an NFL team has to be easy? It doesn't. It's a tough spot to be in. But do you want an offensive trio that's going to give you 5,000 yards to the air and figure it out somewhere else? Or do you want to have a stacked O-line, a stacked defense, and Russell Wilson as your quarterback? I'll let you decide. You know what I will also let you decide? If you should stick around for the next 60 seconds for Alonzo Sports Flash, you should, because it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, all those factors you just made, none of them went to the Super Bowl or won it. Well, Russell Wilson did a long time ago. First tournament win in the 2025 NCAA Championship Tournament belongs to Alabama State, who hit a game-winning layup with 0.7 seconds left to knock off St. Francis 70-68. The Hornets had 16 from Amar Knox, 11 from TJ Madlock, and 10 from CJ Hines. In the win, Alabama State will move on to play number 1 overall Auburn in the first round. North Carolina was one of the most criticized tournament bid earners in recent memory, but added to their argument with the first 4 win over San Diego State, 95-68. R.J. Davis led all scorers with 26, followed up by Seth Trimble's 16 and a dozen from Van Allen Lubin. UNC will play Ole Miss in round 1. Make sure you tune in tonight at 7:30 as the Furman Paladins take on North Texas in the NIT. Exactly what it was, Stephen. It affected my pacing. Yeah, I saw it.
Incredible.
I'm surprised you haven't ordered some of those horns yet. But they work really well with headphones. You could probably put them. Well, it's actually like a hair band thing. So people are completely in love with her for some reason.
I am. I don't feel like I need to explain. Me and Book, we're in the same boat.
She is Chilean.
That's part of the reason why. Stop rolling. Pick a side. Why, yes, it is funny every time. Why do you ask? Why do you ask?
Looking forward to tomorrow. Maybe if he's on tomorrow.
I suspect he will be. I talked to him last week. He said he would be. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, and the man who brought into our lexicon.
Well, he didn't do it.
Well, he didn't do it, but his
It wasn't
listeners
him.
did. His followers did. And I'm okay with it because it makes me laugh quite a bit.
I am just a blonde bimbo cracker.
We're making it worse on ourselves, if we're being honest. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show underway. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you.
Rob, look at how many people are watching right now.
Nice. 69 viewers on the stream. Nice. Which you can make it 70 if you want by going to thefanupstate.com, by going to the Fan Upstate's Facebook page, by going to the Fan Upstate's Twitter page, by going to the Fan Upstate's YouTube page, by going to the Rob Brown Show Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch page. Just search The Rob Brown Show, and you can join our live stream. You can go behind the scenes. Lonzo and I have conversations off the air all the time. Sometimes they make it on the air, sometimes they don't. But if you want to be a part of those conversations, if you want to get deep in the Armada, go watch our live stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on Twitter or YouTube, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch.
America.
I wish I would have pulled the clip now. I did not, and I am mad at myself for it. But Julian Edelman yesterday on their pod told Rob Gronkowski that the 69th overall pick in the National Football League draft belongs to the New England Patriots. And Gronk, after he was done giggling like an absolute schoolgirl, said, I feel like I have to go make that pick, right? Gronk said, I feel like I need to get up there and make that pick. And I've never agreed with Gronk
I was
more.
hoping I drowned it out so you wouldn't play it again. Didn't work.
I'm never going to not play the Gronk laugh.
I will find a way to sabotage your board just to make that one disappear. That one and the other thing. Oh.
So good. So good. Hey, it's your Audio Blitz. The best audio that we found since the last time we did it, which was a long time ago. We got a lot of stuff to get here over the next few minutes as we have the legendary voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Mark Bonetti, joining us here in about 36 minutes. Also, while I'm on, people joining the show. Coming up at 11:45, yes, it is after we get off the air, which means you'll have to stay tuned to tomorrow, the newest member of the Carolina Panther roster and a former South Carolina Gamecock, Rico Dowdle, is going to join us. Zoe and I will record that interview, coming up later on this morning after we get off the air. We will replay that interview for you coming up tomorrow on the radio broadcast. I am one. I'm pretty dadgum excited to have Rico Dowdle join the show. There's a lot we need to talk about. Rico was with the Cowboys last year. The Cowboys decided they need to move on, which tells me one thing and one thing alone. Tells me the Dallas Cowboys are drafting Ashton Janty out of Boise State to come play for them. We'll get to that as we get closer to the draft, but I think they made a big mistake in letting him walk, and then the Panthers took advantage of that by signing Rico Dowdle to come to Charlotte.
You mean Dallas wasn't being selectively aggressive by letting him go?
Selective aggression. We got to talk about that Cena promo too.
Tomorrow.
Oh man, it's gonna be a hard wait to not go off. Because I got to tell you, John Cena picking out one specific kid and calling him toxic was one of the greatest things that's ever happened in wrestling.
Oh, this is probably one of the greatest promos ever uttered by anyone in all of wrestling in the history of mankind.
One of my favorites of all time.
But wait till tomorrow.
We will. Fight Club tomorrow, 9:20. We talk about all the wrestling, and there's plenty of the wrestling to talk about as we stream now 1 month away from the showcase of the Immortals, WrestleMania. Looking forward to that. Audio Blitz. Here's the best audio we've picked up over the past 24 hours. Tim Duncan was on Richard Jefferson's podcast.
Wait. He still exists?
Not only does he, I am going to say, this is the first I have heard from Tim Duncan in a very long time. Tim Duncan's got big dreads now, but also he's like old, and it's fantastic. Like he just is out of bleeps to give. So he went on Richard Jefferson's podcast, and Jeffy asked him an interesting question. He answered, and Richard Jefferson said, "How weird can I make this for Tim Duncan?"
What is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't know. Baby Got Back, I guess.
Would you like to sing some of that for maybe the younger generation?
It's not good sound in here.
But Baby Got Back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Shout out Vanessa. That was inappropriate.
I don't know why
apologize.
that's
That was
okay. It's
inappropriate.
fine.
That's not okay.
It's
That
okay.
wasn't okay.
It's
That wasn't.
okay.
I was
It's
just okay. I'm sorry.
okay.
But that's your what? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't really know why.
Oh no.
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
Uh-huh. What's your favorite karaoke song? Legendary NBA player Tim Duncan, who is definitely still capable of whooping some asses. Baby Got Back. Oh, that's cool. Shout out to your wife. Not just your wife. Called her by her first name. Not shout out to Tim Duncan's wife, Vanessa. Not shout out to Tim Duncan's wife. No. Shout out Vanessa and Tim Duncan. So I gotta scoot over so I can show you how this worked. Dunk was kind of like doing the podcast thing where he's just kind of like looking around answering questions, and Jefferson goes, "Shout out Vanessa," and Timmy D goes, and just gave him the look.
Yeah, that's about right.
Just gave him the look. Shout out to your wife, but only as her first name. Spectacular.
And Richard Jefferson already sounds kind of nerdy anyway. He always has.
He's in his like 3-piece suit with the vest and everything.
He kind of nerd grumbled.
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking of wrestling, he turned into Byron Saxton for a minute.
There you go.
He turned into Byron for just a second. I'm a Bill Rafferty guy. You a Bill Rafferty guy? I love Bill Rafferty. Rafferty's a great NFL talker.
Didn't he sing Baker Street?
Not that guy. Different Rafferty. Bill Rafferty has done play-by-play in color for teams. He's done it for networks. He's a good storyteller, which to me is kind of a big deal for being a color guy. And Bill Rafferty's one of them. Well, Bill Rafferty was on the Pardon My Take Barstool podcast and got asked the question by Big Cat and then went on to prove.
Wait, there's a guy named Big Cat?
Yeah, Big Cat from Barstool.
Is that his real name?
I'm assuming that his parents did not name him Big Cat.
Is he a large gentleman?
He is a large gentleman. And he asked the large gentleman question of Bill Rafferty.
Story went viral last week of Iron Eagle saying that you once came out of a bar after last call with 8 beers in your trench coat for everyone. Can you confirm that? I hope it was more like, he got it wrong. It was a dozen beers.
It wasn't 8. It wasn't 8, but there was a couple, I can remember one night I think it was the San Antonio Net championship series. Unfortunately, I think it was 4-0, as it was with the Lakers too. But Jay Wright came up, and we went into they had a little after game place at the Meadowlands, and they closed quickly. A lot of those guys are, other jobs and have to get up early. So anyhow, everybody was really upset, reluctant to leave. And I had the guy go outside and put about 8 beers behind a bush right by the door. So anyhow, we went outside and they said, well, good night. I said, well, we got a little nightcap. And I said, the guy threw us out. I said, Jay, go over to the bush and grab a couple of beers.
One of us. One of us.
It's kind of illegal, isn't it? I mean,
to hide a beer in a bush for later?
Yeah. No.
And if that's illegal, what in the world is happening to this country? We should all be free to go hide a dozen beers in a bush for later.
I mean, if that was an employee of the bar and he sent them out to do that, that's kind of that's very dangerous. I think legally that's a bad idea, because what if someone underage came along and found that? Then you'd be liable for that. I'm just saying, it's just I know you're having fun, but I'm just thinking of the ramifications of the Utes.
If this is a country where me and the boys can't stake a dozen bushes in a bush for the after party, then I don't know what's happened to America. All right? This is the most one of us story since Siwoo Kim said, I knock out a dozen Red Bulls and a Tylenol PM for the back nine. Bill Rafferty just elevated himself from legend to even more legend by saying, yeah, my man Jay Wright, former head coach of the Villanova Wildcats and an absolute dude. We were out having a couple of beers. The bar shuts down. So I said, got a surprise for the boys. Why don't you check that bush right over there? He's like the beer fairy. It's the best. Because I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many times I walked out of the bar with the boys, and it's like 2:30 in the morning, and you're like, you ready for bed? I'm not ready for bed. I'm kind of ready for the after party to the after party. I wish I had a dozen Bush Lights right now. Oh, magically I do. What a guy.
Yeah, don't listen to Rob if you are closing down a place and go look around the bushes. Probably might be a red flag for the police. Wondering, okay, why are they out there around the bushes?
Hey, be responsible with your bushes, all right? If you're going to have a bush, be responsible with your bush, is all I'm saying. Speaking of that, Rick Pitino is having himself a run right now. St. John's wins the Big East. They're going dancing, not just going dancing, but like they're a contender to win the whole damn thing right now.
Win it all. They're going to the Olive Garden.
Ricky P is obviously no stranger to a party, all right? We all know Ricky Pitino likes to party. I got to tell you, the guy's putting up a resume right now that has got many people asking, is he going to go down as one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time? The answer to me is yes, not just because he's got a legendary career that's going to be filled with Final Fours. Hell, he's a threat to go to the Final Four one more time. But when St. John's finished off the Big East championship on St. Patty's Day and got their ticket was already punched, but got it official that they're going as a conference champ, Rick Pitino sat down with the boys to have a post-game discussion on the court.
Coach, how do you celebrate tonight? How do you celebrate tonight?
I'm going to drink a quart of Jameson's.
St. Patty's Day.
For you.
A quart, huh?
My man said, I'm going to drink a quart of JMO.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot of Irish whiskey.
Okay, all right.
It's a lot of Irish whiskey. No, I don't think Ricky P is gonna go literally sit down and literally drink a quart of JMO. What I am gonna say is, if a 72-year-old head basketball coach says I'm gonna celebrate with my favorite green bottle on the shelf, that's my kind of guy. That's the guy. I've been saying all year, I've been watching the St. John's documentary. If you haven't been watching Red Storm Rising, it's on YouTube, and it's absolutely spectacular. Rick Pitino has been dropping bite after bite after bite, speech after speech after speech. Rick Pitino's got me, a guy who has absolutely questioned some of the decisions he's made both on and off the court year after year. I've said a couple of times, and I'll say it again now, if I got a young man coming up through the high school ranks, definitely going to play D1 college basketball, I kind of want him playing for Rick Pitino right now. And now it finds out I want my boy playing for Rick Pitino. And then after they go win a conference title, I want to go party with Rick Pitino after it's over. Not in the Italian Olive Garden, but just in general. My man said a quart of JMO to hit the celly. All right, well, we got a theme going, so why not keep going? Hey, Stone Cold Steve Austin. How do you make the perfect margarita?
Do you have a go-to margarita recipe?
Oh, yeah. So basically, I'm working with a 3-ounce shot glass.
Got it.
I go Patron Silver just because you can go a higher grade tequila that's going to be a lot smoother, but you're going to need a little bit of bite in that margarita. So 3 ounces of tequila, they pour this in a shaker. About 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of triple sec. About 1 ounce to 1.25 ounces of lime juice. People get carried away with lime juice. Most time when you go to restaurants and you give it something that just tastes like limeade, and it just kills you. No can do. That's the biggest mistake rookies make, or bartenders that don't know their with the margarita. Just a spray of agave nectar, just a few drops. So you shake that up in a shaker, right? And then you pour it out on fresh rocks. And then you float about 1 ounce of Grand Marnier on top. And that's the Broken Skull Ranch Margarita. And each one you drink is a triple. So by the time you drink 2 of my margaritas, that's 6 shots of tequila. You're good.
You're good. So, first off, that's a damn good margarita recipe from Stone Cold Steve Austin. As a margarita enthusiast, I grew up on a beach. It's my go-to. I learned how to make a mean margarita. It's very similar to Stone Cold's. There's a couple of things that are a little bit different there. Nailed it on the lime juice. Numero uno problem with restaurants and barkeeps is that they go heavy on the lime juice. That lime juice is what makes that margarita. When you get that margarita and you go, mwah, that's sweet. That's the lime juice. I don't want that much lime juice. You want about half as much lime juice as you have liquor in the glass. All right, that's the key to a margarita. But I'm gonna give you 2 more. One of them is something I believe Stone Cold Steve Austin left out that you need, and that's Cointreau. Got to have Cointreau. Cointreau will elevate your margarita game to a level you didn't know was possible, all right? Gives it just a little citrus. It kind of takes the acidity of the lime down a little bit. It's phenomenal.
What?
Cointreau. It's delightful.
All right, here's the thing. So you're disparaging Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, I'm not. I just said damn good margarita recipe from Stone Cold.
You're saying it wasn't good enough, though.
I'm saying it can be elevated a little bit more. All right, it can be elevated.
He's got
a little
one
bit
more in him. Don't make it be with you.
I know he does. I heard that. I was going to go with that one, but this one jumped off the page at your boy Rob Brown. Again, noted margarita enthusiast. Here's the second thing, and this one I figured out. Not a lot of people go with me on this until you try it. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to make the Broken Skull margarita. I want you to make it just like Stone Cold said. I want you to put on top of that, Grand Marnier's fine, but you go with like 1 ounce of Cointreau. All right. Then I want you to hit it with like 3 splashes of Sprite. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. It's going to add just a little bit of crisp to your margarita. Make it a little more daytime refreshing. All right. A little bit more of a sunshiny margarita. Go with the silver tequila. That's the play. Go with the drops of the agave nectar. That's the play. Go with just, I don't even go with a full 1.5 ounces, just 1 ounce of lime juice to give it a little sweet. That's the play. A little Cointreau on top, give it a little orange to it. And then just like pop of Sprite in there. I'm telling you, it's going to take it to a new level. Going to take it to a new level. All right, when we come back, we now know the Clemson Tigers' first round game in the NCAA March Madness Championship Tournament. And I'm going to tell you, you could not have gotten a worse draw if you're Clemson. You are on upset alert today. And I'm going to tell you why when we come back. Then Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, will join us at 8:40 to break down the Rabbits up. They got a game tonight at the Well. We'll break that one down as well as the weekend that was and the weekend upcoming. Final hour of the show belongs to you. Anything you want to get to in the 9 o'clock hour, it's on you. All back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Haven't heard back from him. So if he joins, it'll be at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Yeah. Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'll be right back. See if I can line up a last guest. Y'all set right there. I didn't build this brand, but over the last 3 days, a bunch of people have started sending me hamburger, like specialty hamburger recipes on Twitter and YouTube, and I've watched all of them.
What do you mean specialty hamburger?
Like people making like.
You mean this?
Like weird hamburgers.
Okay, all right.
Like I'm watching one guy who's making, and I am gonna do this. He's making hamburger bombs, like where you make the hamburger, but you cook it inside of the bun. So it's like a circle bun, and all the hamburgers on the inside.
Do you hollow out the bun?
No, so you cook, like you put the hamburger inside of the bread and you bake the whole thing together.
Okay.
So everything cooks, all the hamburger stuff cooks inside of it.
What about the grease?
Everything's inside of it.
Okay.
And if that bread soaks it up, I've had burger bombs before, but I'm watching this guy make it, and I've never actually tried to make one. And now that I'm watching it, I'm like, I feel like I could do this.
So if you do that, do you still put the two together, or do
No,
you
it's
just
a
do
ball.
it?
It's like a fried ball. It's like a fried hamburger ball.
Oh, okay.
And so when you bite it, all that ooey gooey's on the inside, and so it's like, but it's like a handheld.
Sounds like something you put on a stick and get at the fair.
Clemson Tigers have their most successful Atlantic Coast Conference basketball season of all time. And their reward for it is that they are placed as the 5 seed in the Midwest bracket. Now, if you'd have told me at the beginning of this year, with the losses that team took off the roster, that this team would go into the March Madness tournament as a 5 seed, I would have said, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe the patience that y'all showed with old Bradley B, maybe it paid off. I've told you before. When I came up here in February of 2020 to audition and interview for this job, I got told by the now boss man, I'm going to give you 2 segments that I would like you to do, that I'd like to hear your take on. So the rest of the time, I would like you to just do your show the way that you do your show. But I want to give you 2 local segments that I would like to hear your breakdown on so I can hear how you kind of vibe with the local teams. And I said spectacular. One of them was South Carolina moving on from Will Muschamp, who should be the next guy. Should they move? Yada, yada, yada. You remember that conversation. The other one was, is it time for Clemson basketball to move on from Brad Brownell? And can Clemson basketball ever become a true contender in the ACC and in the national championship picture? That was 5 years ago last month that I was asked to do that segment. And when I came up here, the take that I had was, I've seen enough out of Brad Brownell to think he can do it. But I kind of think we're at the point now where it's kind of, as my old man used to say, it's time to or get off the pot, as the expression goes. I said, I don't know. Like, on one hand, I kind of feel like I've seen enough to say, I think the guy can do it. On the flip side, he hasn't done it. And how long do you wait for him to done it before you say, you ain't done it, you gotta go? And here we are 5 years later. Last year, the team went on an Elite 8 run. This year, the team's absolutely got it in them to go on an Elite 8 run once again. 5 years. Brad Brownell's been in charge of that team for a lot longer than that. That conversation's been going on since before I got here. Patience, as they say, is a virtue. And a lot of schools don't have it. And now, maybe more than ever, it's going to be real hard to have patience when you are talking about the head coach of a major Division I program. I'm talking basketball, football, baseball, whatever. Because if you aren't moving forward, you are now screaming backwards. So, here comes this Clemson Tiger team, number 5 seed in the Midwest. Here's the problem. You drew perhaps the absolute worst 5-12 matchup you could have asked for in round number 1 against McNeese State. You drew a 5-12 matchup, whereas Michigan got UC San Diego, Oregon got number 12 Liberty, and Memphis got number 12, Colorado State. You got McNeese State. And you go, wait a minute, Rob, the Cowboys are 27-6, ain't exactly a dominant basketball program. I don't disagree, but you do have a problem here. You have 2 problems here. Number 1, the head coach of McNeese State is a young man by the name of Will Wade. Now, those of you that are college basketball enthusiasts, you know who Will Wade is. Will Wade is a young man that at one point was the head coach of the LSU Tigers. Will Wade was dismissed from the LSU program back in 2022 because they found recruiting infractions, including Will Wade discussing an offer to pay a recruit. It was overheard on an FBI wiretap. Will Wade described the payment as a, and I quote, strong-ass offer, end quote. He was also caught on the wiretap saying, I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of dealing with the thing, like I'm just sick of dealing with this should not be that complicated. The very next day, LSU announced he was indefinitely suspended amongst an FBI probe That pro found some more stuff later on. He was dismissed. Now, yes, Will Wade broke the rules that were the rules. Here's the thing. The year before that, Will Wade had taken the 2021 LSU Tigers, who before he got there were bad at basketball, to the championship game of the SEC tournament. He earned them an 8 seed in that tournament. He was terminated March 12, 2022, before he was able to guide the Tigers through that tournament. Will Wade is a guy who was very clearly breaking all of the rules. He was also a damn good basketball coach. Will Wade is also a guy who came from Clemson. Will Wade began his career in coaching as the student manager of the Clemson men's basketball team from 2002 to 2005. He was also a graduate assistant from 05 to 06 and promoted all the way up to director of basketball operations in 06 and 07 before he got hired as the Harvard men's basketball coach, where he turned in a top 25 recruiting class for Harvard before he left to go coach at VCU. Went to VCU under Shaka Smart, helped VCU to 4 consecutive postseason appearances, including a trip to the Final Four in 2011. VCU finished the 2012-13 season with a 27-9 overall mark, a number 23 final national ranking. They were one of only 5 teams nationally to win 27 or more games in each season from 09 to 13 while Wade was there. And in his 4 years as an assistant coach at VCU, they went 111-37, a 75% winning percentage, and had 3 straight trips to the NCAA tournament. Will Wade can coach his ass off. You are up against the guy that I believe, had he not violated all of the rules at LSU, would probably have been to the Final Four multiple times as a head coach at this point. That's problem number 1. You've got the narrative against you here. You've got the narrative of Will Wade going up against the school that gave him his start, but never gave him the opportunity to move up in their own coaching ranks. Now, there's a lot of different reasons that happened. That's not really something that I'm going to look back at 2006 Clemson and go, oh, you screwed up. Because he was an unknown coaching prospect at that point. Like, they made the right decisions. They didn't do anything wrong. But that don't play great on TV. You know what plays great on TV? Will Wade's up against a school that didn't give him a chance to be a coach back when he was getting his start. Now he's got a chance for revenge 2 decades later. It's sexy on TV. Problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that everything Clemson does, McNeese does too. Everything that Clemson does, McNeese does almost as well. It is a suffocating defense. It is a defense that is going to be in your face from the opening tip to the final whistle. This is a team that has held opponents to a 40.2% shooting percentage. They shoot 48% from the field. Clemson is allowed 43% shooting. McNeese State makes them at a 48% clip. Every year we have that 5-12 upset. Every year we have that matchup that happens on day number 1 sometime in the middle of the afternoon, and it starts the Cinderella run. Every single opening day we have that 5-12 matchup that everybody talks about it for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, into the weekend. That team goes on a nice little run to round 3. Clemson, I'm telling you right now, you've done well. The ACC tournament, those final 2 games, were 2 of the worst games I've seen you play so far. Those ACC tournament games were the worst I've seen so far out of this team since the Georgia Tech loss. You have got to figure it out, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't, you will be that 5-12 upset. If you don't, you will become the team that gives the Cinderella run its kickstart. And you don't want to do that. When we come back, Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, will join us to talk a little local hockey. We'll do that next on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to step away to get Benetti set up. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Please don't go nowhere. So while we were away, Lonzo was telling me that as he redoes the floor in his apartment, Mark Benetti, there's a big crack in the hardwood floor, and his reasoning was he believes, and I quote, something was trying to get in.
This is a hell of a way to start off this Wednesday.
I know. I know.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like you have to burn your place down.
You know, my wife probably would like to do that. We live out in the middle of the woods. There are some noises and some things that I'm uncertain of what they are. Growing up in the south side of Columbus, Ohio, in the middle, I mean, the shadow of downtown. But we've lived here half our lives. I've heard some things under there scratching, and it could just be possums. But whatever it did, it was pretty strong and it busted through the floor. So I'm not going under there. I know that.
Yeah, that's where you pay somebody else to do that in full riot gear.
I'm trying to get Rob to come over and go under. He won't.
No, I'm
do
good.
it.
I will tell you, Mark Benetti, when I say Lonzo lives on a compound, it is like the definition of the word. Whatever you think of when you hear compound, that's where he lives.
If you get back there accidentally, because that's the only reason
No one's
to get
ever
back
gotten
there.
back there accidentally.
Yeah, if you go back there, you're like, oh, I need to leave now.
Yeah.
So no banjos or anything. We're good as far as that goes. As far as I know, in the distance, there are some sounds.
Hot damn.
I'm pretty sure there's someone has a cannon though that they occasionally on weekends try out. Yeah, it shakes everything, including the woods. So
So, is it a Civil War reenactment family, or are we getting ready for Red Dawn, the home game? Like,
I'm thinking it's more like Red Dawn preparation. Yeah, I think it's more that. So I feel safe as far as that goes because I know which direction to go when the zombies or the robots, the aliens or the Chinese come. I know where to go. So
I worked with an athletic trainer my first year in Rapid City that did Civil War reenactments. Old Bobby Moore, he was 67 years old from San Marcos, Texas, and every year he would jump in on a Civil War reenactment.
I am completely shocked Rob hasn't done that yet. He's so into that stuff.
I would.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Wow. I could see him in a Union blue jacket.
I did reach out not terribly long ago to a local Revolutionary War reenactment group, and I'm like, I'm kind of in, but I don't want to just be like cannon fodder. I want to be a general. I want to be a guy, you know? I want a character.
Just ask for Mel Gibson's part.
He played Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. Well, a spin-off take on Francis Marion that did Mel Gibson in the movie The Patriot. Since that's what we were talking about with the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Mark Benetti, before we came on the air, Lonzo told Benetti he was shocked that I haven't yet joined like a Civil War reenactment group, to which I then informed them, I'm joining a Revolutionary War reenactment group because I am, and this is true, Benetti, a loser, and that sounds awesome.
That's insanely debatable. I mean, the awesome part, great. You're not a loser, Rob. We all have our, you know, things that we want to do. What are those called? Hobbies. Jesus, Mark. Wow. I need more of this. I need more of this. Good grief.
Buddy, I'm on Celsius number 4. We're good. I get it. It's early. Mark Benetti. Buddy. Who has a legacy on this show now. It's the reason that I frustrate Lonzo with the number of times that I call people buddy at this point. Well done for adding to the lexicon of the show, by the way.
I'm glad that is my mark on humanity. I'm honored.
I mean, it's a good one. You and I have had the discussion a number of times about the fact that hockey has its own lingo, its own lexicon. It has its own vocabulary, and it has its own accent, I guess, like the way the boys sound and the fact that the boys say the boys, et cetera, et cetera. And over the 4 years that I have been around the franchise, and certainly in the last couple of years where I've become more engaged in day-to-day stuff with the team, it has crept up on me, including starting an uncountable number of sentences with the word buddy. And it turns out Benetti dropped the buddy on me about 4 weeks ago, and it, for whatever reason, just stuck.
It's a shame that we can't go back to the tape on that. I would love to just bring that up as a historical moment. To the point of the lexicon, when my mom started learning a lot of these words, when I really started getting into this as a pro, her favorite term became a grocery stick, which is a player on the bench that has no intention of being put into the game, and he separates the forward from the defense like he is a grocery stick. So that is her favorite term out of all of them.
Well, the buddy thing, when he used it, was very derogatory. So I mean, when you use it, I'm sure it's endearing.
I've
when
tried.
he used it, it was a talking down moment.
I've tried to explain,
you know.
Mark Benetti, that buddy's kind of like the F word. It's a very versatile word. You can use it positively, negatively. You can use it for emphasis. You can use it to slide in like a little jab at somebody. Buddy has a lot of weight to it.
It's very reflexive, believe it or not. It is very reflexive. It's kind of a jack of all trades of a word. And, there's moments where it's like, buddy, great to see you, or buddy, really? And it's, completely changed its complexion.
That's it.
Yeah, the second one is one I get a lot. So,
I mean, I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying it's not every time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, buddy. It's Mark Benetti joining us here on the show. What's up, fella? How we doing after a very long handful of days for the Bits?
It was pretty wild. You go from a 7-game road trip to 3-3 at home with 3 promos because we were gone for 7 games again, so you had to make up for lost time. But, I think we learned a lot of great things about our team, especially as we get to the final stretch here of the season. You take 3 points out of 6 against the number 2 team in the Western Conference, and just so happens to be the defending Western Conference champion in this league. I hated, unfortunately, how Sunday's game turned out, because saying 5 points out of 6 against a team of that caliber is obviously better than 3 points out of 6. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good weekend of hockey for the most part. And, seeing a brand new team from the complete opposite side of the league doesn't really happen often in the ECHL. So it was really cool to see that. Got to catch up with an old friend and Kansas City assistant coach Riley Weslowski, who I worked with the first 6 years out of my 8 in Rapid City. He was the captain of the Rush. His number got retired when he became the assistant coach of Kansas City. So it really, really neat to have that small world moment in hockey where, a guy that you worked with almost a decade's right there, and, you get to take in a new team too.
I think one of my favorite things, just do another pat on the back to hockey. I was over in New Orleans this past week and got a chance to go home see the friends and the family. And I was talking about working for the Rabbits as the in-arena host and all that with a friend of mine, with a cousin of mine who's kind of getting into hockey via proxy, like watching my stuff at the games and all that. And we were going through some of the Four Nations face-off stuff, the USA-Canada match, and there's an angle from one of the games where, fight number 3 in those first 9 seconds, from across the rink, you see a couple of the guys on Team USA and Canada, and they're, standing there with arms around each other's shoulders and, patting each other on the head. It is the only sport where 2 guys will try to knock each other's teeth out of their heads, and their teammates are like, what a fight, eh? It's the best.
Oh yeah, bud.
There
what
it
a
is.
tilt, hey, bud. It's awesome. It's great. And quite honestly, yes, everybody will say there's an entertainment aspect to the fighting, but there is such a much deeper purpose to actually getting in scraps like that. In a moment like that, especially USA Canada, you're setting a tone and you're sending a message, right? That this is going to be a 12-round prize fight. And if you're going to win, great, you've got to wear ice bags at the end of it, because that's how brutal the game was in such a head-to-head rivalry. The other reason is because it's a police force for what referees may or may not do over the course of 60 minutes. And so to prevent liberties from being taken against your star players and your teammates, that's where you've got to step in and really make something happen with it.
Mark Benetti joining us here on the show. All right, let's get caught up on where we've been and where we're going for the boys. We talked a little bit about that 7-game roadie. Didn't exactly go the way you wanted. There were flashes of good hockey. So the Bits come back for the weekend. 3 games in 3 days. They take the first one 4-1. They drop game 2 by a goal. They drop game 3 by 2, including a late one. And I think you kind of hit on a second ago, but I'd love for you to kind of go off and emphasize a little bit. This is a damn good Kansas City team that the boys went toe-to-toe with for a weekend, and not just a good team, but a team that it's the first time they've seen that KC logo across the ice in a handful of years now. So a team they had zero familiarity with outside of looking at tape. Could you give me kind of an overall grade and overall take from a 1-2 weekend that included a couple of heartbreakers?
I would honestly, I'd give the weekend a B, because it could have, again, depending on how Sunday finishes out, could have been so much better for the team, right? Sunday was a very disjointed game. And for a number of reasons, you're at the end of 3-3 to begin with. For the Swamp Rabbits, you're at the end of 4-5 that included brief travel up the road, but it was in North Charleston, and that was a game that didn't go the way of the Swamp Rabbits. So there's a couple of arguments you can make there on some slightly added fatigue. But, you get to the end of 4 games in 5 nights. You play pretty solid hockey offensively game 1. Game 2, you play much more calculated, much more structured. I honestly think should have earned the second point there. They played well enough to earn the second point. But the third game between the Mavericks and the Swamp Rabbits, there was no rhythm. There were 11 combined power plays in the game. That is 22 minutes maximum of odd man hockey. A couple of bouts of 4-on-4 in there. There's 8 goals in the game. Half of them came on the power play. One was a fluke empty netter against the Swamp Rabbits. That happened in the first period. And I think it was 53 or 55 combined shots on net in the final game. So there wasn't really much going for either side. Nobody really took care of the neutral zone either. So it was a really odd anchor game. But, again, sometimes they don't ask how you win. They ask if you did. Kansas City got to answer that question, unfortunately, for the Swamp Rabbits. But even if the Swamp Rabbits come out with 5 out of 6 points, that's a heck of a weekend against, like you said, a very top team. So I think the team learned adjustments within a series against a brand new opponent. The coaches do a phenomenal job of the due diligence and preparing with film and preparing statistically and analyzing certain trends in this and that. But it's completely different when you have live ammunition. So for Coach Mountain and Coach Dowda, it's a huge test to, okay, game 1 shows your preparation. Game 2 shows how can you finagle things within the series? And then game 3 is where's the gut check? Where's the will? How do you get that rubber match, so to speak? And so I think we saw a lot of things in that series, but ultimately I think the Swamp Rabbits played well enough to take 5 out of 6 points, but unfortunately they couldn't.
So talk to me a little bit about this series, because I know, especially now as we are getting into the back third of the season, we're getting to the point where points are at a premium, even when you are playing top-notch competition from across the entire ECHL. What is, if anything, do you think the lesson, the number 1 or 2 lessons that this team will take with another home game tonight against a very good Florida Everblades team, on the road Friday night, going to play again against the Stingrays in South Carolina? What do you want to see this Swamp Rabbits team take away from a tough, a battle-tested weekend and put against a couple of divisional rivals over the next 2?
Protect the neutral zone, because Kansas City was a lightning-fast team. They came out the first 5 minutes of Friday night swinging, and the Swamp Rabbits didn't give anything up, thankfully, but that was an onslaught. And I think despite the preparation of the team, Coach Mountains even said it himself, I think the speed of Kansas City kind of caught them by surprise a bit. And Jacob Ingham had a night 50 saves on 51 shots and what ended up being his 100th professional game. That's a career high for him. A heck of a milestone, well celebrated, and a win well earned. But then you saw that change in game 2. The Swamp Rabbits suffocated neutral ice, and anything that Kansas City earned was either on the power play or was either on a breakdown. And so, I think for the Swamp Rabbits, they've found out when they protect the neutral zone, when they are more defensively sound with their gap, when the play is underneath them, not necessarily over the top of them, the good things are going to at least be in position to come for them. So you're against a Florida team that's very structured, very responsible. They're also a brilliant skating team. So neutral ice is key there. You can't allow odd mans. South Carolina, every time in North Charleston, has found a way to burn you in neutral ice. So you have to continue to exercise the principles of what you've learned against this great team in the neutral third. And then when it comes to Savannah, that's another great transition team who tries to score every goal, 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 3-on-1. So, it's especially that lesson is important for the young players too, the young defensemen, the likes of a Tristan DeYoung, who's now almost a dozen games into his pro career, Dustin Garagach, who's 7 in, Connor Hutchison, who played his second pro game in his home debut on Sunday in the St. Patrick's Day game. So you've got 3 rookie defensemen who got thrown under the fire a couple of weeks ago or within the last 2 weeks in their pro careers. It's a huge lesson of when the play's in front of you, obviously you're in a better chance to defend it.
Talk to me a little bit about stamina for a hockey team at this point in the season. Again, you're kind of at clutch time. There's just not much room for margin of error at this point, but you've got a couple of sloppy games there with, like you said, a lot of penalty minutes, a lot of minutes spent on the PK. Is that going to be a point of emphasis for Kyle Mountain and the gang to get cleaned up? Because if you're going to drop points moving forward, it just needs to be because the other team beat you, not because you handed them away. Is that, do you think, kind of going to be a point of emphasis for the Rabbits this week?
Well, discipline's always going to be a point of emphasis. I mean, the Swamp Rabbits, if memory serves me correctly, went on the penalty kill 13 times in 3 games. 6 of them came in game 1, 4 of them in the third period. So discipline has to always be a key no matter what. And that used to be the bread and butter of this team. It took them about 12 games into the season to get more than 3 penalty kills appearances in a contest. It was absolutely insane how well disciplined the team was in the first month and a half of the year. So that's always going to be an emphasis no matter what with this team. So that's an emphasis there. And then I think 5-on-5 offense needs to be something the team needs to get back to. The power plays had phenomenal success. They went 30-something% in these last 3 games. You look at game 1, they went 2 for 3. Game 2, they went 2 for 4 in game 1, 1 for 3 in game 2, and 2 for 7 in game 3. So, I mean, that's a 38.6% scoring clip, I think, if I did the math right. I mean, 5 power play goals in 3 games is insane, but 5-on-5's got to be able to pull their weight. You can't always rely on the power play no matter how red hot it is. So I think special teams and 5-on-5 is your key. You stay out of the box, continue your excellence on the power play, but then the way that the game is meant to be played 5-on-5 is the most important way. You've got to find a way to score goals.
Mark Benetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. 1 or 2 more for you before we let you go, Mark. The next thing I really wanted to hit on as we are kind of looking for the silver linings here, I think we've got to talk about the goaltending because defense has given up, unfortunately, higher quantities of shots than we'd like, but you had Dryden McKay, who had such a heater that Ontario called him up. They send Jacob Inge back down to us. He goes 50 saves on 51 shots, which was impressive. If there is a highlight for this team this year, it has been the fact that the boys between the pipes, and I will simply say netminders so I don't call them by the wrong name, Mark Benetti, have been good for this team. I think it's now just a matter of let's get those last 3 guys ahead of them, kind of on that same page, and let's start pushing the puck back the other way a little bit more regularly.
Yeah, Jacob Ingham, again, he's certainly earned it Friday, and to hear his story too, I mean, the guy had 2 season-ending surgeries very early in his career, one on his leg, one on his back, missed a whole season because of the latter one, and battled his way not only back to earning an NHL contract again with the LA Kings last season, but then to get to 100 games in 5 years. He even joked with me. He said, wow, it took me 5 years to get that far. But, very well earned on his part, 50 saves on 51 shots. And again, he played well enough on Sunday to help the team in front of him. If the game on both sides wasn't so disjointed with the special teams appearances, both for and against the Swamp Rabbits, or just some fluky transition plays too, maybe you're talking a different story. Pierce Charleston made his pro debut on Saturday, and he did what every goaltender is expected to do, and he gave the team a chance to win. 21 saves on 24 shots, and unfortunately, the puck bounced off the defender the wrong way in overtime. Otherwise, that guy's celebrating a win that he'll never forget because it's his first one as a pro. Colby Hay was very patient this whole year. He finally started to string together starts. He had started 5 out of 8 at one point. In his first 2 starts, he gets 3 out of 4 points for the team, including his first pro win against Atlanta on February 23rd. And then, like you said, Dryden McKay was the workhorse. He had gotten to a point before his call-up where he had started 8 out of 10 games and had a dozen wins on the season. He still led the Swamp Rabbits in that category for so long throughout this campaign. So, the goaltending has, for the most part this season, been there. It's everything else that's really needed to build the consistency around. But you've got to really tip your cap to the last line of defense for this team, because no matter the situation, even good, bad, or indifferent, they've been able to try and put the team in a chance to win.
Mark Bonetti is the voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. The Bunnies back in action this evening. A little Wednesday night midweek hockey taking on the Everblades. They'll be on the road Friday against South Carolina, back home to take on the Savannah Ghost Pirates on Sunday. Bonetti kind enough to join us on Wednesdays at 8:40 to talk a little local puck stick. Appreciate you, big dog, you absolute icon of stage and screen.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. Like you said, time's of the essence here. The Swamp Rabbits elimination number, unfortunately, 1. So any loss tonight or any Orlando point gained in their game this evening, that'll be the end of it. So, it's really, really, really crunch time right now. Should be a fun game tonight.
Should be a fun game. Let's get the well-packed, make a little noise for the boys. Bonetti on the call, as always, my man. Thank you, big dog. Talk to you this evening, as a matter of fact.
You got it.
My guy. Mark Bonetti, voice of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. Lonzo.
Buddy.
It's so good. It works at everything. Watch this. Watch this. Buddy. Lonzo Sports Flash.
I don't know. Transition could have been better.
Buddy.
It could have been. The first tournament win in the 2025 NCAA Championship Tournament belongs to Alabama State, who hit a game-winning layup with 0.7 seconds left to knock off St. Francis 70-68. The Hornets had 16 from Amar Knox, 11 from TJ Madlock, and 10 from CJ Hines. In the win, Alabama State will move on to play number 1 overall Auburn in the first round. North Carolina was one of the most criticized tournament bid earners in recent memory, but added to their argument with the first 4 win over San Diego State. It's hard to read. It really is. 95-68. RJ Davis led all scorers with 26, followed by up by Seth Trimble, 16 and a dozen from Van Allen Lubin. UNC will play Ole Miss in round 1. Tune in tonight at 7:30 as Furman Paladins take on North Texas in the first round of the NIT tournament. Blame the writer.
buddy. Really want to talk some wrestling. And we will. Tomorrow at 9:20 a.m. for Fight Club with the great one Lonzo, because John Cena put on a damn masterclass on Monday Night Raw. A masterclass of a promo on Monday. And I am one of the people that John Cena was talking about because I've given the guy hell over the years. He's right. Can we talk about the fact, and we will tomorrow at 9:20 for Fight Club with the great Alonzo. Can we talk about the fact that wrestling is at its best in the WWE right now because though all the heels are right. McIntyre's got a point. Seth Rollins has got a point. Kevin Owens is right about everything. And now John Cena has a point even after a massive heel turn. All the heels have a point. It's that classic.
You forgot the female in there.
Rhea Ripley?
No, the glow.
Oh, Naomi's got a point.
Yes.
You're exactly correct. In fact, I put that tweet out, I think last week, and I included her in it. Naomi's right, too. Like, it's at its best because it's real right now, right? Like, the storylines, you're like, it's kind of that classic Big Lebowski take of, you're not wrong, you're just like, you're right, you're just being a jerk about it. If you aren't being a jerk, I'd be fully in your corner. I am fully in Kevin Owens' corner, just so we're clear. He's absolutely right. All right. We got a lot more we got to get to, a lot more we got to talk about. But before we get into the sports, I'm gonna say this one more time again. Because the NCAA tournament fires up tomorrow. Now, I've been out the last 4 business days. But I was driving home yesterday from a little vacation with the extended fam down in New Orleans, Louisiana. The lady and I decided to save ourselves some cash and just make the drive. So we're driving back yesterday, and towards the end of our extended roadie, I clipped on in, as I do every afternoon, to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, who I love as brothers. I do. They were talking a little college basketball, a little bracketology. And I thought to myself, you know what? There's an opportunity on the table here because I believe that iron sharpens iron. I believe that competition is what brings out the best in us. Lonzo and I are living proof of that. I came up here in year number 1. We found out that there was Lonzo already knew this, so I should say I found out about the South Carolina Broadcasters Association. I found out that every year they hand out a trophy for the Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year. And I told Lonzo I'd like to win that, like multiple times. I would like to start a dynasty. I'd like to be the 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers of the SCBA Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year award. And there was a little fire in the great one's eyes because I'll tell you, he likes himself a trophy. He likes himself an award. We like to do stuff that gets our big-ass heads put on the side of the building.
Gotta be honest, that first year, I just wanted to see someone else lose.
And also that. Competition brings out the best in us. It brings out the best in everybody, even if you don't think it does.
And he no-showed, so we couldn't look in his eyes.
Didn't need to. Didn't need to. There were text line going out on our own text message line that I read and went, that's how I know. That's how I know we did good. Okay? And every year since then, Zoe and I have said, if we don't win that award, it's a failure. There was 1 year we didn't win it. 1 year. And I hung a red sequin jacket right over there over the window for 365 days. So we had to walk in, and the very first thing I saw was a shiny, glittery example of our failure.
You could see that thing from the road.
You really could.
When the sun hit
That's
it a
not a
certain
joke.
way. Yeah, it was.
I didn't even get to walk in the door. I turned onto our street, and we could see the shining, glittery illustration of our failure. And Lonzo and I went nose to the grindstone and put in the work. And what we do, we went back to Columbia, South Carolina the next year, and we picked up our hardware, and we said, never again. If we're ever going to lose this award, it is going to be because somebody stepped up and just beat us.
We walked in there like a couple cowboys. That's all I'm saying.
Damn right we did. Look real good doing it. If we ever don't bring that crystal home, it's because somebody beat us. It's going to be somebody that turned in a demo, because when they bring you up and you do this, we all turn in a fight. You get to turn in a 5-minute demo reel, and then the judges, they go find your stuff and listen to you, right? They go find your stuff and say, all right, that's the best. Let's go see what else they got. And they tune in. You never know when or where or how the people who make the determination about who's bringing that crystal hardware home are going to listen. So you got to bring it every single segment, every single day. And Zoe and I, every single year, we go, we don't win that trophy. It's an abject failure. If we are going to lose, it's going to be because somebody turns in a demo reel and we go listen to the show and go, gosh dang, they're really good. Now we got to up our game to get back on top. Competition breeds excellence. That is a belief, a core belief, maybe the core belief of this show. Well, in the afternoons from 3 until 7 o'clock, there's a little show right here on this very, very station named Wire to Wire with a couple of young men who are excellent broadcasters in Cole Bryson and Diesel. They're my guys. They're my dudes. They're my dogs. They're my boys. I want to beat them just like I want to beat everybody else. They want to beat us just like they want to beat everybody else. Now, we're like the SEC in basketball. I'm going to try to beat them. They're going to go try to beat me, but we collectively are going to try to beat everybody to show that this station, we are the big dogs. We are the best sports talk radio station, and not just in the state of South Carolina, but across these entire great United States. But the competition between the shows is real. It's a very friendly rivalry. But trust me, the emphasis is on the rivalry, not the friendly, all right? We want to win, and we make no secret. We talk smack to each other about wanting to win. It's fun. We love it. It's like brothers in the backyard. I'm going to try to whoop you when we play that game to 21 out on the outdoor hoop. I'm still going to love you when we get inside, but I'm going to try to kill you while we're out here, okay? So, I made a determination as I was driving back to the crib yesterday, listening to the boys talk a little bracketology on Wire to Wire last night, because I had been asked a number of times over the past week or two, hey, Rob Brown, are you going to do another Rob Brown Show bracket challenge like you do every year? And the answer was, yes, I'm absolutely going to do a bracket competition for the Rob Brown Show. But I decided yesterday we're going to up the game a little bit. We're going to take it to the next level. Because here's what we're going to do. Me, Lonzo, and you, the Armada, all right? And if you're one of the few, the proud, if you're an Armada member and you're a Tolo, you're listening in the afternoons, you're listening in the mornings, you can pick a side, or you can be like Switzerland and just play it down the middle. I'm good with whatever. But if you're an Armada member, if you're one of the folks that you're here with us in the morning all 4 hours every single day of the week, here's what I need you to do. I need you to do one of three things. Go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/thefanupstate. Go to the Twitter page, twitter.com/thefanupstate. Or drop me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. And I need you to find the invitation link, or again, email me and I will send it to you, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. to the Wire to Wire bracket competition, because I want a little bit of a showdown. a little bit of a friendly rivalry between Wire to Wire and the Rob Brown Show. I want the Armada versus the Tolos, Robin Zoe versus Diesel and Cole. I want a little friendly rivalry, show v. show, the two best shows in the state of South Carolina, if you ask me. Let's see who knows ball, brother. Let's see who knows ball. Instead of doing a Rob Brown Show bracket contest this year, we, the Armada, the few, the proud, we're going to invade the wire-to-wire bracket contest. And here's what I'd like you to do. If you're game, if you're up for the challenge, if you think you know ball in a way to rep the Rob Brown Show, to rep Zoe and I, what I want you to do is join the wire-to-wire bracket competition. And what I want you to do when you go in there and you submit your bracket, I want you to add on to the end of your bracket TRBS, the Rob Brown Show. You call it whatever you want. John's Picks, Bracket Busters, whatever you want to call it. But just on the end of whatever you call your bracket, just add TRBS. Because what I want is when we get to the round of 32 on Saturday morning, I want Diesel and Cole to log in, and I want them to just see at the top of the leaderboard, TRBS, 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 top to bottom. And then when we get to the round of 16, I want them to look and go, where are the Tolos? And then when we get to the Elite Eight, when we get to the Final Four, when we get it down to 2 for a natty, and when we crown a champ, the nets get cut, and we all sit together for that one shining moment. I want them to start their show the very next day to open it up and say, guys, let's check in on the wire-to-wire bracket competition, and for them to have to read off 50 brackets that all say TRBS on the end. That's what I'm looking for here. A little friendly competition between the Armada and the Tolos in the afternoon. A little friendly competition between the Rob Brown Show and Wire to Wire. A little friendly competition betwixt the boys and the girls on the two shows. And we are going to go do it on their territory. It's an away game for the Rob Brown Show. Why? Because I believe in the Armada. Because I know if you're the person who's getting up at 5:30 in the morning to get your day started, if you're the person who says, I got to get my day started with a little gas, a little electricity in the AM, the very first thing you do when you wake up, you put on your pot of coffee, you get the paper, you go over to the radio, you turn it on to 97.7 FM in Greenville, to 97.1 FM in Spartanburg. Maybe you go to the website, thefanupstate.com. Maybe you're one of the elite that join us on our live stream every day. If that's you, you know ball. You wouldn't be here listening to this show if you didn't know ball. And now I want the world to know that you know ball, that I know ball, that Zoe knows ball, that we know ball. And we're going to prove it by playing the away game. We're going to go to the wire-to-wire bracket competition. We're going to take it over. We're going to submit our brackets, and we're just going to watch the leaderboard fill up with TRBS. So, if you are a bracket guy, if you are a bracket gal, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to facebook.com/thefanupstate. I want you to scroll back about 4 posts on that site, and you'll see an invitation link to the wire-to-wire bracket competition. I want you to go to Twitter, twitter.com/thefanupstate. I want you to scroll back a few tweets. You're going to see an invitation with a link to join the wire-to-wire bracket competition. Or if you're not on the social media, but you want to show up, you want to be loud, you want to be proud, you want to rep the TRBS in this little friendly show v show competition, you can email me directly at rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will personally reply to you with an invitation link. And I would like to open up that bracket contest tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. when the brackets lock, because round number 1 of the tournament is underway. And when I open that wire-to-wire bracket competition, I would love to see 50, 75, 100, 1,000 submitted brackets from the Armada that say bracket name TRBS. And when it's over, when it's all said and done, when somebody has cut those nets and they've put the ladders away and Luther Vandross, I hope, is singing on TV, I want to be able to open that website. I want to be able to go look at the leaderboard, and I just want to see a handful of Armada members, top to bottom. I want to see who's going to step up, who's going to show up, and who's going to show wire to wire, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate audience, that they know ball. And I want Cole and Diesel to have to open that next show and go, our bracket winner is so-and-so, TRBS. Second place, so-and-so, TRBS. Third place, bronze medal. The podium filled with the Rob Brown Show submitted brackets. I want the whole front page of the leaderboard to have every bracket with a TRBS on the end of it. So, if you want in, go to the Facebook page. Find the invitations, 3 or 4 posts back. I'm going to refresh that right after the show. Go to the Twitter page, scroll down, find the invitation. I'm going to refresh that right after the show. Click on that invitation, submit your bracket, and when you name your bracket, make sure you stick TRBS on the end, because Rob Brown and Lonzo and you, the Armada, we're going to dominate this thing. We're going to prove that this show knows ball. There's no casuals here. It's all pros, baby. We all know ball. We're about to show the world. So go find the link or email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will personally reply to you right now, as Mark just emailed. Said, I'm in. Don't worry about it. Mark, your invite will be in the mail during this break. You want in? rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will send it to you. Get in. Get registered, stick TRBS on the end of that bracket, and let's show wire to wire. Let's show the Fan Upstate. Let's show the world that the Armada knows ball. Back after this with some sports talk on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. You won an award. You got one. Let's go. Okie doke, let's get that. Link, copy link. Anybody wants it, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I'm sending them out right now. All right, we got a handful of TRBS brackets in there. Let's see.
I'll get in there after this.
Somebody named Mike named their bracket Rob Brown's daddy. I respect that, Mike. But if Rob Brown's daddy wins, that's still, we get credit for that, right? I gotta say yes.
Well, your name will be mentioned.
I gotta say yes. I gotta figure out how to change my bracket. You got 1 day, 2 hours, 54 minutes till the bracket close.
trying to decide if I wanted to buy the new Assassin's Creed, but I think I'll wait.
What's the new one?
It's
remaster?
it's in Japan. It just
Oh,
came,
yeah.
just
Oh,
came
the
out.
samurai one. That's been
Yeah.
out, what, like a year and a half?
No,
now, hasn't it?
it came out like
Oh, I thought it's been out.
this week. Yeah, like yesterday, I think.
I
I'm waiting for that Swamp game on Game Pass, which comes out next month.
I have not finished Egypt yet. I'm working on that.
Egypt was so big that I got
It's huge.
That I got to a point where I got bored.
Yeah.
And I didn't finish it. I finished almost all the other ones I
The
played.
only issue I've ever had, so I've been on an arc with Assassin's Creed. The first handful of games, it was probably my favorite game franchise of all time. Then it started leaning into the aliens and gods and goddesses stuff, and I kind of checked out because it got a little over the top for me. And then I ended up buying back in. I'm like, you know what? I actually do enjoy this, except for it got to the point where it felt like those games were starting to fill up with mini quests just for the sake of having a long playtime. And I was like, none of this, like, it's just the same mission with a different guy. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. Again, if you want in on the bracket competition, shoot me an email right now, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will send you a link. Our buddy James P1, he's in. We got an email from Mark during the break. He's in. I got an email from Dan during the break. Dan is in, and you are invited too. I told you what we're going for.
You're missing out on all the guys on the stream.
We got Steven in the stream who said the Armada General is in. James is on the stream. He said, you want a war, you got one. TRBS Team 2000 is in. Yes, indeed. Kane also said, is that a sunburn or a tan? Oh, it's a sunburn. It's a sunburn. Your boy took the wife down to New Orleans, Louisiana for the weekend. Her very first time in that city. And on Sunday, there was over in Metairie, Louisiana, a little suburb right outside of New Orleans. They had 2 back-to-back parades. They had a Mardi Gras parade that got canceled due to weather during Carnival that ran. And then right after that, the Metairie St. Patrick's Day parade ran. And let's just say that when the 16-ounce Bud Lights were available, and when you've got the opportunity to stand in the sunshine and watch the parade and the bands go by for a couple hours, you take full advantage. So your boy, Zoe, I don't know if it's still going to show up, but the hat burn is there when you got the little arch right in the top.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there. It's rough, but well earned and well worth it.
You should have took your hat off. I mean, the way you get a solid burn all the way across.
Couldn't. Once I got out, I had the hat on. The hat hair was in play. I knew I was already going to look. I was already going to look questionable at the end of the day because the boys Ubered the boys and the girls Ubered to the parade, and I knew that when you started pouring 16 ounces of green beer into a plastic cup, Rob Brown was going to have a day. I didn't need to make myself look worse.
Is that going to turn into tan? Because it looks worse when it turns into this brown streak across your forehead.
I don't know yet.
I may or may not speak from experience.
Yeah, I'm definitely a burn once and then get darker during the summertime guy. I just don't know if is this fake spring? Is this real spring this time? We had 2 weeks ago we had 3 days where it was 74 and sunny. Your boy was wearing shorts to work, and then one day I got dressed and wore shorts to work, and it was definitely not shorts weather. It was definitely, don't judge me, it's cold weather.
Today it's going to be 76. So today, yeah. But then it's going to drop 10 degrees for the next, for the foreseeable future. Still in the 60s.
Mid-60s is perfect.
So depending on who you are, it's still shorts weather.
Unless it's margaritas at the beach, 66 is perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, get your bracket request in
By
now,
the way,
Rob Brown.
Brian wants you to let you know that he's in. Okay, because
We got Brian in.
Yeah, he called earlier, and I
Through
just didn't get a chance
Beautiful.
to tell you.
Love to
Yeah.
hear that. Joey B is in. Do me a favor when you sign up for the Wire to Wire bracket competition. Again, send me the email request. I will personally send you a link, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Send me an email asking for the link. I'll send it to you. When you go and you fill out your bracket, make sure that you name your bracket. Bobby just texted the show on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line. Yeah, baby. The burgers are in the Fan Upstate fam now. The Hub City Spartan Burgers text line at 844-326-3663. Bobby just texted the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line and said, I got my bracket in. Hell yeah, you do, Bobby. Well done. Rep the Armada. Shoot me the email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Here's the thing. I also got a text that's like, why are you pushing this so hard? Because the brackets close in a day and an hour, kids. You have 25 hours and some change to get your bracket filled out and submitted. This is I have effectively 5 hours with you. 4 hours and 33 minutes. And I don't think you understand how much I want to see TRBS filling up the leaderboard on the what is now station-wide bracket challenge. We usually do it show by show. But what I realized was that if we do it show by show, all I can do is say, well, on my show, we did this. And then it's like, that's not fun. Let's go dominate. Let's go win. You don't get to just win and be the number one bracket with the TRBS on the end of it. You get to be the number one bracket from every local show on the station. Competition breeds excellence. Let's be excellent, people. Shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will rapidly reply with an invite back to you to join the station-wide bracket competition. Let's put TRBS on the damn map, shall we? Yes, we shall. Yes, we shall. All right, let's get a few more sports topics in here as we roll on through the radio broadcast. We are all kind of waiting. Here's the thing. I don't really know that I'm waiting on Aaron Rodgers news, to be honest with you. Cam Hayward, defensive tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, said yesterday that he's tired of waiting on an Aaron Rodgers decision. You know, you're kind of in a spot where you got defensive tackles on a team that is interested in signing the quarterback, kind of out there in the public eye talking smack about the quarterback a little bit. Because here's the deal. You had three teams that felt like they were a justifiable landing spot for this guy. The Minnesota Vikings, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the New York Giants. Now, there's some interesting variables for each of them. Number one, for the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy is on the bench. You got to believe, if you're Minnesota, that J.J. McCarthy is the future. Because if you don't believe that J.J. McCarthy is the future, you wasted a draft pick. You wasted a top 10 first-round draft pick last year at a point in time where your team was very close to being very good. You wasted a top 10 draft pick if J.J. McCarthy's not the future. And as I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, if J.J. McCarthy's the future, then put him under center now. There is zero benefit to bringing in Aaron Rodgers because the absolute best case scenario is Rodgers comes in, has a career year, maybe takes you to a Super Bowl. But if J.J. McCarthy's the guy, because even if Aaron Rodgers does that, like it kind of feels like your team's falling apart after that. The man's going to be 43 years old at the start of next season. There's very few guys that get to that level and play at that level. So it kind of felt to me like you believe J.J. McCarthy's the guy or you wasted a draft pick. And if you believe that J.J. McCarthy's the guy, put his ass in the football game and let's see what he can do. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is obviously known that Justin Fields has moved on. He has now gone up to the New York Jets to be their starting QB.
I saw somewhere where he got offered the same thing from Pittsburgh, and he said nope and left.
Does that shock anybody?
No, I would leave.
I would leave too. 100% I would leave too. You put me in the game, I went out there and went 4-2 for you, and then you took my spot away. Even if it's exactly what Rob Brown told you was going to happen, you still don't have to love it if you're Justin Fields. So, yeah, I'm 88 and up out the gate. No, by the way, if you're going to go to the New York Jets, you might as well go now when there's a full reset being pushed under Aaron Glenn, their new head coach. Go see if you can jump in and be a part of that culture building, because if you go there and you're a culture builder and that team suddenly becomes the success story of the 2025 NFL season, you're ingrained for a very long time with a team that has been begging for a quarterback for a very long time. So, of course, he split. Not only do I not blame him, I would have encouraged it. So you have remaining the Pittsburgh Steelers, who it is likely are cutting ties with Russell Wilson, though there are now multiple reports out there that they may not be cutting ties with Russell Wilson, that they may actually be okay with Russ coming back to be the quarterback for this team. Albert Breer said there's actually no hard feelings between the Steelers and Russell Wilson. Basically, they just looked and said, you're not the future, and we kind of feel like we're at a point where we need to push the accelerator towards the future. But the reality is, unless Pittsburgh's going to trade up in this draft, they're not getting a franchise quarterback this year, so maybe they run Russell back one time. And then there's the New York Giants, which, if we're keeping it a buck, are the team that it makes the most sense for Aaron Rodgers to go play quarterback for. He doesn't have to leave New York. He can keep the same apartment or whatever it is he has going on there. And on top of that, there's some talent on that roster. There's some good young players on that roster. Guys that Aaron Rodgers could theoretically help to grow, help to shape, help to develop, while the Giants are able to turn their attention towards finding QBF, quarterback of the future. And I'm going to tell you right now, with Aaron Rodgers going into his 41st year of age and his, 200th NFL career or NFL season, it feels like. I don't know that anybody but the Giants can or should sign Aaron Rodgers. If I gave you, this is a genuine question. You're the GM of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to give you the option. You can have Russell Wilson back or Aaron Rodgers back for the exact same contract. Which of those guys are you signing?
Well, we'll find out who they choose if they choose between the two, and that'll say a lot about Russell Wilson.
I don't disagree with you. Except for now, I got a defensive tackle going public eye going, we're tired of waiting on this guy. You think you're better than us, bud?
I think there's a good shot he signs with Pittsburgh now. I think it's an inside deal. I think it's a work.
It might be, honestly. It might be. I don't know what it would accomplish.
If anyone could pull off a work, it would be Cam.
That's also true. And Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, we got one segment left. We're going to hit the ground running for the last 20 when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Logan TRBS is in. Let's go. Joey B's in. Let's go. Love seeing it fill up, baby. Oh, man.
I will say so far, and we probably will touch on this tomorrow, I love that Monday Night Raw is in Europe.
Dude, those crowds are white hot.
No, because it came on at 3 o'clock.
Oh.
And next week it comes on at 4 o'clock. I'm good with that. So I can actually watch it live if I want.
I have the last couple of weeks. It's been worth it. I like watching Finn break. That's fun. We're getting the demon back, right?
I waited on Monday because my wife went to the beach with my daughter for her birthday.
Nice.
And they didn't come back till Monday, so I waited till she got back.
Yeah. As a programming note, and I'm saying this out loud both for myself and for Lonzo, Lulu is going to join us on Friday, not tomorrow. She is speaking to a journalism class tomorrow. Also, Lulu Kesson went absolutely viral for the cheese stick story.
Yeah.
She was on like ESPNW and all that. It was hilarious.
Should we ask her what her cheese stick of choice is?
I mean, I
Is
feel
there a
like we
brand?
absolutely have to have
Is there a
cheese
certain
stick
brand, or do you want double cheese in your cheese stick? I mean,
But she went stadium, Steve. I mean, this was a cheese stick available at the
well,
game.
you got to go with what's there.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if Lulu Kesson, noted cheese stick guru, has an option of where to get the best cheese stick, what's the play?
So-
cheese sticks are one of those things that it's hard to mess up, but if you mess it up, I don't trust you.
If they're double-sized cheese sticks or double-wide cheese sticks, are they still cheese sticks?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I would say deep fried cheese, regardless of shape and size, qualifies as cheese stick.
Anytime I hear stick now, I hear Odie found the stick song because stick is in the bracket, and he plays it so much. It's hilarious because Cameron and Matthew hate it. And I secretly love it. I guess it's no secret now, but I love the song. I think it's great. Had a chance to get rid of Stick. I did not do it. But Stick is going against D&D. It goes down.
I don't think so.
I'm giving up my vote because Rob Young's going to be on this week. I don't know what he's going to vote.
I don't do this very often, but I'm going to do it right now. And I'm going to make this segment of the show about me. I'll do it often.
Wait. I mean, all the years you've been here, it's never been about you before.
It's never been about
Wow.
It is
This
always
landmark time.
Always been about the people. Always been about the people. But for this segment, or at least a little bit of it up front, I'm going to make it about me.
You're not doing a John Cena turn, are you?
I don't think so because my hat's on backwards. So I'm going to say this isn't a turn. And even if it is, it's going to be one of those the heel has a point kind of heel turns. All right? As John Cena said, I'm not a baby face. I'm not a heel. I'm a human being, and I have feelings. All right? So I'm gonna put those feelings to work and make this about me very briefly. It was announced yesterday that a professional sporting league in the United States of America is finally going to get it right. Is finally going to do the most fan-friendly thing that any league has ever done in these great United States of America. And there's a long list of things that have been done that are fan-friendly. Long list. We have seen pricing at different stadiums be lowered for fans. We have seen ticketing models that some teams have gone against the grain to make them more fan-friendly. We have seen game after game, in-game fan experiences elevated. I was at the Pelicans-Pistons game on Monday night, St. Patrick's Day. Myself, my brother, his wife, my wife took my little 6-year-old nephew to go watch my Pelicans get absolutely destroyed by Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. And yet, despite the fact that I watched my basketball team, Lonzo, be losing by 32 points at halftime, we still had a really good time because the team put on a show. And sometimes you have to have that because the team stinks.
Play?
He did 30 points.
Wow.
30 points. First time I've gotten to see him play. 30 points. I think he went 36-3 in that game. I mean, it was a good game. Also watched Trey Murphy, the only guy on our team that can shoot a 3, go down to a torn labrum for the season, so that was bad. Also watched, and I'm going to walk over here so Lonzo can see the frustration in my face, C.J. McCollum went 1 for 17.
Wow, that counts. He tried really hard, though, right?
1 for 17. I told my brother, it was one of those times, I'm not even joking when I say, I think I could go 1 for 17 in an NBA game. Like, I'd just be it would be 4 guys doing nothing more than trying to get me open, setting a bunch of screens for me to just hit like a off screen, grab it and throw it at the rim. I think I could go 1 for 17. Okay? It was pathetic. Anyway, a lot of fan-friendly experiences, a lot of fan-friendly moves around professional sports in the United States of America. And it has to happen, obviously, because, as we have talked about, as everybody has talked about, I have a 75-inch television at my house that is approximately 8 feet away from the comfiest couch in the history of the world. I have, if I sit on that couch, an entire refrigerator full of beer I don't even have to get up for. And if I do, I take 7 steps. I'm in a clean bathroom to do my own business on my own time. I go wango bango right back over to the couch. I sink back in, crack another Busch Light, and life is good. Or I can pay $100. By the way, I bought tickets off of StubHub to go see the Birds play, Lonzo. It cost me $7. $7.
Dude.
That's
not good.
We suck. We suck a lot. But the point is, especially when the team's bad, I can create the absolute greatest sporting environment that you or I or anybody else could ever want to go experience at my house. And the cost of that 75-inch TV was like 1/6 the total price of season tickets to go see the Birds. Hell, most not terrible teams, the cost of a 75-inch TV is the same as just the tickets to go to like 4 games. It's a pretty good deal. So, you've got to elevate the fan experience. You've got to make the fan experience better. What's the number one way to make fans enjoy your games? I'm going to give a hint to every NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, every owner of every team ever. Do you know what the number one way to make me as a fan enjoy the game is? It's not bigger jumbotrons. They help. It's not cheaper beer. It helps. It's not better food. It helps. I will sit in a crappy stadium watching tiny jumbotrons, drinking $17 12-ounce Bud Lights and eating cold pretzels if the team's good. If the team's good. That's the number one way. All that other stuff is great and appreciated, for the record. But the number one way to get me to get excited, to enjoy my experience, is to not have my team be down 32 points at halftime and have a multi-year extension signed to a guy who goes 1 for 17 in the face of their third best defender. Okay? Well, yesterday, something that Rob Brown has been advocating for to take a foothold in these United States of America, it's announced it's happening. The USL, the United Soccer League, announced yesterday that a supermajority of club owners have voted to implement promotion relegation across the USL. It is the first professional sports league in the United States to adopt a model that is literally everywhere else. It creates now an interconnected 3-tiered men's professional soccer system where teams can take a step from USL 2 to USL 1, from USL 1 to USL champions, which means that you actually are rewarded for being good. I mean, fan experience is great. That's awesome. I'm really excited about it. Like, it's awesome, especially with these local squads, that local soccer teams are heavily leaning into making games fun. I do stuff at games for the Greenville Triumph. We have drum lines and we have horns and we have halftime competitions and we have trivia up on the board and they show replays and the games are fantastic. Do you know when I have the most fun at a Greenville Triumph match? When I knock back 7 or 8 brewskis in the parking lot, and then I go inside and we go win a game 2-0, 3-1. That's when I have the most fun. Welp, this encourages that more than anything else. This encourages that. Because, you know, it's one thing if the Greenville Triumph have a bunch of great entertaining elements in their game, fun games and good music and a DJ and a very, very handsome young man playing the snare drum and the snare line. Like, that's all great. That's all good. That's all a lot of fun. That enhances the experience. And I applaud the Triumph for leaning in and asking the fans, what do you want? How can we do this better? Conducting surveys so that fans can say, I love more of this and less of that. And that's awesome. It's way more fun when you win. And so now what happens in the USL moving forward is this. The Greenville Triumph do what they've been doing for 5 years running, and they go win games. And they make it to the USL League One playoffs. And they make runs at championships, at bringing rings home to the GVL. Yeah! And what happens in a promotion relegation system? Well, now, if they do that, and they make it to USL League One final, what happens? They go up a league next year. Competition gets tougher. Going to be a little tougher to make a championship run up a league, sure. But do you know what else gets better? The amount of time that you're on TV, the amount of money that you make, the amount of sponsorships that are available, the amount of exposure you get, because now you're not relegated to the 9th page of soccer news on Fox Sports or ESPN or whatever. Now, all of a sudden, you're on page 1. Now, all of a sudden, Greenville Triumph SC is showing up on international soccer pages. And if that starts to happen, what happens? Better players from around the world look and they go, wait a minute, that's a pro team. They play in a wonderful part of South Carolina. Everybody seems to be in love with it. I would like to go play there. And now better players start showing up. And then you're getting more exposure. You're getting more money. Guys like Joe Irwin and Doug Irwin and Chris Lewis are taking that money and they're investing it back in the team. They're signing better players. They're putting together better elements. They're getting better facilities, like a brand new stadium they broke ground on last week out in Malden, South Carolina. You got all this stuff that starts coming. Things that you only gain access to. How? That's right, America, with money. And so all of a sudden, now the team starts getting a little bit better. And maybe they go up, maybe they go up, maybe they go up. And maybe 1 year, 4 or 5 years from now, they're playing for a USL champion spot. Maybe they get promoted to whatever this next division up, USL Premier or whatever it's going to be called. Maybe one day they're there. And now all of a sudden at a spot where USL, I genuinely believe, is about to go on a trajectory to the moon, now you're getting national television deals. Now, all of a sudden, it's not just that really good college players turning pro are going, I'd be interested in playing for Greenville Triumph SC. Now, all of a sudden, the USL's making more money. And now, all of a sudden, pro players from the rest of the world go, that looks like fun. That guy they have playing the snare drum and the cowboy hat, I love to play in front of that guy. And now, all of a sudden, we're getting even better players, which means you're getting more money, more endorsements. It's great. But here's the other side of that coin. The other side of that coin is there's a lot of football owners out there, a lot of owners of every team out there. Am I right? Tampa Bay Rays, Miami Marlins, Cleveland Browns, that don't care and don't try. They have owners that are good for one thing, and that is getting the most profit available out of their club. They don't try to be better. Well, guess what happens if you don't try and your team stinks and you're at the bottom of the table? You go down the league. Do you know what happens when you go down a league? Less TV, less partnerships, less sponsorships, less money. All of a sudden, your investment making opportunity ain't making a return on investment like you like. So if for no other reason than the owners want more money and have to go up to get it, now they have to try. It's not just good enough to say, oh, I'm going to save this or make that. Now you got to try to be good so you can get that money you're looking for. This is the best system, and I'm going to call the shot now. We'll circle back around in 3 or 4 years. Within half of a decade, the USL will threaten Major League Soccer as the #1 footy league in the United States, and the Greenville Triumph will be a part of it because the owners had the brass you-know-whats to say yes. Let's go.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
You moved the mic away. So, I mean, so I didn't know you were going to still, I will say.
No, the let's go was just added emphasis.
Okay. There's a lot of X going on.
A little more
today.
pop.
A lot of X going on today. The first thing that's Xing is Shedeur Sanders.
I don't know why Shedeur is Xing today. What I do know is I thought Shady McCoy had a great take the other day on Fox. He said, all these critics of Shedeur Sanders, all the people say, oh, he's too arrogant. He wore his hat backwards. His chains are too big. He's too much like his daddy. He said, and this is, I thought, a very poignant take, Lonzo. I don't know if you agree. He said, you know what the one thing none of them talk about is? His tape. None of them talk about his tape. They're talking about his personality and his attitude and his confidence or cockiness or swagger or arrogance or whatever you want to call it. The one thing they don't do is talk about his tape because the kid can play. And I was like, that's kind of a good point.
Absolutely, that's a good point. And but the other story, it's a lot easier to talk about. Oh, he's got an attitude like no one else in the NFL has an attitude.
Right.
All right, the next thing it's texting is the JFK files. Have you read them yet?
Oh, did they get released?
Yes.
Like entirely?
Not entirely. There's some that were, from what I can tell, some politicians stopped part of it. I don't know why, but it looks like 1,000 pages possibly.
So I've said before, and I'll say again.
Are you going to read it all, though?
I will absolutely read it.
That's why I'm asking, because you seem like someone who would read it.
Do I think for a second that there was some grand conspiracy that the government orchestrated the assassination of John F. Kennedy? I do not. However, much like with Bigfoot or ancient aliens or whatever, I don't believe it. I will absolutely go read every bit of evidence proposed and have a thought on it because I like learning things, and that's a good way to do it and keep yourself entertained. I do not for a second believe that there was some grand conspiracy to assassinate John F. Kennedy. However, I did not say it definitely didn't happen or there's no chance it would happen. I will absolutely go read every word of those documents. I don't care how long they are.
James says, unfortunately, spoiler alert, he didn't make it. Thanks, James. Thanks.
Hey, you got two seasons.
Now no one's going to read it.
You got two seasons.
I'm interested. I don't know if I'm interested enough to read that many pages about that sort of thing because I don't know how much of it would be true. All right, the next thing it's Xing is Bruce Willis.
Oh, I do not know. I wish I had better. It's his birthday. He didn't die.
No, it's his birthday.
Okay, oh, God, Bruce is in his 80s now, yeah? 84.
No. He's not even close to that.
72.
70.
Really?
He's 70.
I know he's got a bunch of health issues and
He
stuff.
does.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Not so much that he's old, so much as he can't talk anymore, right? Like he's got something similar to what Val Kilmer was dealing with. Like he just can't talk anymore.
Well, Val Kilmer had
cancer,
I think, tongue cancer.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis has a brain condition.
Okay.
I forget what it's called, but yeah. All right, and finally, the last thing it's Xing, and this is probably self-serving a little bit. Fallout 76 is Xing.
Ooh. Is that the Boston one?
No, that's Fallout 4.
Okay.
Fallout 76 is the online one that you played with me just a little bit briefly.
did.
And we couldn't talk to each other. New thing now, you can be a ghoul. So if you want to be a ghoul, you can be a ghoul.
I wanted for a very long time like a vampire game, but I get to be the vampire. You know? Like I'm sure it exists somewhere, but I want like a big mega studio game, a vampire game, but I get to be the vampire.
There are a lot. Well, Baldur's Gate.
I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, BG3, you can be a vampire.
You know what?
For sure.
That's what I'm doing tomorrow. Got a Greenville Swamp Rabbit game tonight. I think tomorrow, on my first actual day of relaxation since my 4 days of relaxation, maybe that's what I'm doing.
I don't know of any D&D fan who doesn't like the game. It's a very good game. It's a go back to game.
If you want to be a part of our station-wide bracket competition, shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will send you a reply with the invitation. We'll be interviewing new Carolina Panther Rico Dowdle this afternoon. We'll have the replay of that interview for you tomorrow. Rashad Beard pulling up Hating Ass Mario, Fight Club, and all that on tomorrow's edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yeah, you will love it. Dark Urge is the play.
Can you play Baldur's Gate multiplayer?
Yeah.
Can you build a party?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so that's what we're all doing.
And I believe now it's cross-platform.
So that's what we're all doing. We're starting a D&D campaign together, right? That's what we're doing now? I vote that's what we do now. Is the combat turn-based like D&D? Or is it like open combat? Or a mix?
It's
I haven't done anything with it yet.
It's open combat.
Okay.
kind of.
I mean, I'm fine with that if it's done well, you know?
Game of the year, I believe,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And the actors are still doing D&D campaigns that a lot of people are watching.
Yeah.
You can play as each individual character, which I started to. And it's not as fun. It's better to build your own character.
Yeah.
And then there are also a ton of mods that you can with extra character classes and
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Toby says, don't play Dirge first. Play through with a regular character.
yeah, you should.
So
I beat it probably, I don't know, maybe 10 times.
does it have a different story ending every time?
They've added a bunch of new story endings,
Okay.
which I haven't beat it lately to see some of the how the endings go, ending cinematics.
I need something to break me of my Marvel rival streak right now because I'm just obsessed with, like, unhealthy obsessed with that game.
Just character creation alone, you're going to get in there and go, okay, what class do I want to play? What do I want
Well,
to do?
so anytime I play a fantasy game like that, like Skyrim, whatever, my first character is always Andre. It's always a barbarian. It's always a pro wrestler turned D&D character. So I'll probably do the same here. I always end up with three characters. I always end up with Andre Ravage, a pro wrestler, barbarian. I end up with a rogue archer, and I end up with a wizard every time.
Well, you can also, there are hirelings if you don't want to use the people that you recruit.
Yeah.
And you can pick, if you want a bard, you want all that stuff. But you kind of, you get
So you
some
build
of
your
that.
party as you go with characters you
There
pick
are
up?
characters you pick up,
Okay.
yes.
I mean,
And
I'm
those
all in.
Those characters you could kill.
Yeah.
They're like, one of them's a vampire. My first playthrough, I killed him. I didn't
Murdered a
realize
party member?
I didn't realize that he was a party member, so I missed out the entire thing. So, which is an entire storyline I missed out because the option was to stake him. He
Yeah.
tried to bite me in camp. Boom, you dead.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Joby says Barbarian with the Tavern Brawler feat is insanely broken in the game. Good, because every D&D character I play has that. Every one of them. Joey B, I'm going to text you later because I'm going to go ahead and tell you we have a wine date tomorrow until like 8:30, and then I'm going to go home and play. So if anybody wants to play Baldur's Gate with me tomorrow night, Lonzo can't. He'll be asleep. But if anybody else wants to play Baldur's Gate tomorrow at like 8:30, it's on.
Yeah, because obviously I'm old. I mean, because if you're playing like at 11 p.m., you should be asleep. But
I should, but I'm not. All right, dudes and dudettes, we got to get set up. We're interviewing Rico Dowdle at noon. We will have that interview for you tomorrow. No Lulu Keston tomorrow. She'll be Friday, but we do have Rashad Beer. We do have 8 and Ask Mario. We do have Fight Clubs a full day tomorrow. Make sure you come back. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Goodbye.